catering available, and we're open 7 days a week. Come in today, you'll be glad you did.
It is just before 10 o'clock. This is breaking news now from today's TMJ4. We are investigating a report that a Milwaukee police officer has been shot.
We have heard from neighbors in the area of 12th and Dakota, and neighbors have told today's TMJ4 that they have heard several shots fired in that community, and there is a heavy police presence there. Now, here is a map of the area that we are talking about on Milwaukee's south side. It is near Zablocki Elementary School. That school is on lockdown as Milwaukee police investigate what has happened.
A source told today's TMJ4 that, in fact, an officer was down, having been shot, and that coincides with the large police presence that we understand is gathering there near 12th and Dakota. These are not things that we have independently confirmed, so that is one source indicating some of the things that we are hearing, but we're waiting and working to get confirmation on that very important detail. But we do know this much: there is a very large police response happening at 12th and Dakota, just a little bit north, as Susan indicated, of Oklahoma.
And we do have crews on the way, and as soon as our crews get on location, we are going to go to them to bring you the latest information that they have been able to gather from the scene. Again, we're talking about the area of 12th and Dakota, which is on the city's south side. For those of you who know the area, it's somewhat near Aurora St. Luke's Medical Center, so it kind of gives you an idea of the vantage point that we are talking about. It's 2 blocks north of Oklahoma, and again, neighbors are reporting to today's TMJ4 that they have heard shots being fired in that area, and when they look out their windows, they see heavy police presence there, and we are still trying to confirm other information as to what is happening.
Getting a little bit more information about the elementary school that is on lockdown right now. Again, Susan mentioned Zablocki Elementary School, that is about 10th and Oklahoma, so 2 to 3 blocks maybe away from the immediate scene there. Someone who answered the phone at the school said the students are safe at this time. The school is on lockdown as a precaution. So that is from Zablocki Elementary School. Moms and dads, caregivers, if you have loved ones at that school, you're worried for them. We are told by someone at the school that the students are safe right now. Also getting a first indication that Marquette University police were called to assist. That would be extraordinarily rare for Marquette police to leave their jurisdiction unless they were badly needed somewhere nearby. And so that's another detail that we have confirmed right now.
And as far as the elementary school being put on lockdown, that is routine procedure. I know that word kind of sounds calm in a situation like this, but officers will do that in the event, and schools go through the process of putting their schools on lockdown when there is this sort of investigation that is going on nearby. According to the maps, about just a couple blocks away. So you can understand why authorities and the school wants to be extra careful given what they know at this point about reports of shots being fired in the area of 12th and Dakota.
And again, a source told today's TMJ4 that a Milwaukee police officer was shot and is injured. That's one source telling that to today's TMJ4. And again, that being in part this response at 12th and Dakota.
And then we just got a report, too, that there is a daycare center in that area. It's called Happy Days Daycare Center. And they are reporting to us that streets are blocked off in that location. However, the kids are safe and just being very careful and cautious, obviously, with the large police presence that we are reportedly aware of in the area of 12th and Dakota. Again, Happy Days Daycare Center reporting to us that the streets are blocked off. However, the children are safe.
Setting the stage for you, or the scene for you, this is south side of Milwaukee, residential neighborhood, a lot of homes tightly packed as they are there on the south side. Pretty close to 27th and Oklahoma is the biggest cross-section there. You have St. Luke's Hospital, and the District 6 Milwaukee Police Department, District 6 headquarters is right in this neighborhood. I'd say, about a mile from this location where the investigation is ongoing at 12th and Dakota.
Now, we don't know what the original report was at this point that prompted police officers to respond to this area. We are obviously working to find out that information. We do have crews on their way, and a police source is reporting to today's TMJ4 that an officer has been shot. We are in the process of getting our crews in a situation where they can tell us what they're seeing and what they're learning from the neighbors there in that location.
We are working on official confirmation from Milwaukee Police or any of the outside law enforcement agencies. I'm on the Milwaukee Police Department Twitter account, and nothing there at this point. That's oftentimes one of the first places that will get confirmation of any major investigations or incidents going on. As you can expect, officers who are on scene are busy conducting their investigations, so they're not in a position very often to go out and inform our crews as to what's happening. So oftentimes, some of the first and best information we'll get from the scene is through social media. Milwaukee Police not reporting anything on their Twitter account right now.
And I do believe we have a live picture up now from the location. Again, we are talking about the area of 12th and Dakota. Our photojournalist, Mark Waz, is there on the scene. He is still trying to get his shot set, but we do see it, and we do see crime tape cordoning off an area in that neighborhood. And as Vince described, the homes are pretty tightly packed, as many of us know who have lived and grown up here in Milwaukee, the south side there, homes, neighbors, very close-knit communities on the south side there. We do see a large police presence as well, officers and police officials huddled on the street. We see people walking on the sidewalk there. As you can see, the live picture is now up for you to see. Now, the report is into our newsroom from neighbors that they did hear shots fired and that they are seeing a large police presence, as you can see from our live picture that you are looking at right now.
Again, the only thing we're hearing about a possible officer down is one source telling today's TMJ4 that a police officer was shot at this scene. Given that to you straight, we don't have any other confirmation, don't have a second source at this point, and nothing official from Milwaukee Police. But that does coincide with some of the traffic that we're hearing from police radios that we are able to monitor. So it's starting to come together that way, but we have no official confirmation on that right now.
And as our reporters get to different locations as we cover this story for you, we are getting confirmation about Marquette Police assisting with the situation that you are seeing here, helping Milwaukee Police with their investigation. I understand our Katie Crowther is available to us live now. And Katie, what are you finding from your location?
Susan and Vince, we are here right at 12th in Oklahoma, 12th in Dakota. We actually arrived right as they were putting up this caution tape that you can see further down the block, down 12th Street. I am at the corner of Dakota, but further down on 12th Street, you can see some people, what looks like gathered outside of a house. So this is a very residential area. We see police, we see investigators. I think we see some, it's kind of far for us, so we see some just regular residents all gathered outside of a house. As you guys said, police are not saying what has happened yet, but as we were on our way from the station at Capitol Drive, we did see that there were multiple squad cars speeding toward the location with us. So obviously still a very active scene out here. 12th in Dakota, we are right by St. Andrew Lutheran Church. That's where we are located. Happy Days Daycare Center 2. And again, this is just a very, a lot of homeowners, a very established residential community. The only thing is we don't know what led up to this, but we did hear reports that a Milwaukee police officer has been shot.
All right,
we will continue to monitor this and bring you more.
All right, Katie, yes, please stay with us as we continue to stay on top of the situation. And again, just to tell you where we are right now, this is a live picture coming to us from 12th and Dakota, which is where our Katie Crowther is reporting from. And we are responding to a report that an officer was shot. You can obviously see the crime tape up and the gathering of officials there on the sidewalk. We have just learned that the Milwaukee County District Attorney's Office is responding to the situation here.
We also mentioned that Marquette University Police did confirm that they went to assist at some sort of incident, not saying what it was, but at this incident at 12th and Dakota. I'm looking at their social media account and no confirmation from Marquette Police as to what they are investigating there. And
our Sean Gallagher is now on scene. And Sean, what are you learning from where you are? Sean Gallagher?
We were at a rollover crash earlier this morning on National, and as we were driving back to the station, we saw an escorted MFD paramedic van going by us. I've never seen anything quite like that. Two cars, one in front, zipping past, blocking off an intersection to make sure they could get here on time. Now, from where I'm standing at 12th and Dakota, I can see what looks like a SWAT vehicle of sorts and it looks like there is still obviously a heavy police presence here. Tape as far as the eye can see. They've got this entire block cordoned off. When we were coming down here, turning onto Dakota, I could see that they have all of Dakota blocked off, as well as the far street as well. But like we've been saying this morning, all that we have confirmed is that Marquette police are in place. They are helping here with the officer shot. But again, this is a very developing situation. A lot of people here for this investigation, guys.
Now, Sean, obviously there's concern for people who live in that neighborhood, and we've mentioned Zablocki Elementary School on lockdown, as well as a daycare nearby. Can you tell where you are? I mean, yeah, they have a large area blocked off, it looks like authorities do, but there is still a lot of static standing around. I mean, do you see any officers going door to door through the neighborhood? Are they canvassing the area?
At this point, Vince, it doesn't look like I see too many officers doing anything. I'm going to step away from the camera so I can get a better look. The officers that are here, they are together talking to each other. I see people that are on this block on 12th Street, that the one balcony. It looks like there's a woman who is looking out of her window. A lot of people on other porches and things like that, but it doesn't seem that there is a lot of urgency at the moment of officers that are dealing with a situation like that. So I would presume that people are safe right now, but it does look like they are following their investigation right now. A far porch from where I can see, kind of on the left-hand side here, looks like there is a heavy presence. It looks like it could be officers, but a lot of trees in the way. Can't really see. I'm trying to move around. It's kind of tough. They've got this entire area taped off, but again, obviously a heavy police presence that we have here. I mean, I count at least half dozen, if not more, patrol cars right here now, Vince.
And Sean, as you're in that neighborhood, we had reports into the newsroom of neighbors hearing shots being fired. Have you had a chance to talk to any neighbors? Are there any neighbors even milling around wondering what's going on?
There are a number of people that are around here, but I literally just got to the scene, so I haven't had a chance to talk to anyone quite yet. But it looks like everyone here is very interested as to what is going on. I'll definitely work towards talking to some people, figuring out what they heard.
Okay, appreciate your time there, Sean. Go ahead and do that. Just want to reiterate, we mentioned a daycare center, Happy Days Daycare, and then Zablocki Elementary School being in the vicinity of this location where you're seeing this huge police and law enforcement presence. We have heard from both of those facilities, so for parents who may be concerned, we have heard the kids are safe. They're on lockdown as a precaution because of this ongoing investigation.
We are getting additional confirmation that, in fact, it was a Milwaukee Police Department officer who was shot. I have a second source now, someone close to the Milwaukee Police Department, confirming that the reports we heard were true. And now we are hearing from yet another source that it was a tactical officer who was shot and injured at 12th and Dakota. So that is coming together to the point that it's multiple sources now confirming that, in fact, a Milwaukee Police Department officer was shot somewhere near 12th and Dakota this morning. We're told the officer is about 30 years old, so that would put... do we have a male, female at this point, guys? I'm just talking with our producers in the back who are funneling some of this information as well. But we're told that officer is a male and somewhere near 30 years old.
Again, we are watching breaking news from today's TMJ4 as we cover what we believe to be an officer shot near 12th and Dakota this morning. A short time ago, perhaps within the last half hour or so, as we continue to bring you information. This is coming live to you from Milwaukee's South Side. A Milwaukee police source telling today's TMJ4 that the officer was shot and injured there earlier this morning. We continue to gather information from, we have two reporters right there on the scene. And is our Katie Crowther available to us right now?
I am. Hey, guys.
Yeah, let me Katie, hang on one second. Just before we get back out to Katie, a little bit more information that we have confirmed. This from Frederick Hospital confirming that an officer was brought in with a gunshot wound. That officer in his late 20s or early 30s. So Frederick Hospital confirming that that officer was brought there. Why that is so significant in terms of how seriously this officer may have been injured. If you know the area, again, we're 12th and Dakota. We're just north of Oklahoma. 27th in Oklahoma is St. Luke's Hospital. They do have an emergency room. Could have brought that officer there, but instead they went to Frederick, which is significant because Frederick is a level 1 trauma care center. So if you connect those dots, it's entirely possible that this officer's injuries were quite severe.
And so this information coming to us from our Pete Zervakis, who confirmed that Freidert told him that an officer was brought in with a gunshot wound. We'll be checking in with him as well. But right now, Katie Crowther on scene at 12th and Dakota. And Katie, what have you been able to see?
You know, guys, not much has changed from our vantage point. A lot of caution tape up, a lot of Milwaukee police officers surrounding the scene, making sure it's blocked off to pedestrians. A lot of people coming and stopping to talk to us, asking, you know, what's going on, what's happening. A lot of people here not sure what this police response is for. As we now know, it is because a Milwaukee police officer has been yeah, we are. This is a Milwaukee police officer who has been shot and rushed to Freidert Hospital. You can see some investigators, also members of ATF down there gathered outside of looks like a home kind of on the sidewalk near the intersection of 12th and Dakota. I'm right now standing at 12th and Oklahoma. And like I said, a lot of people still just wondering what happened. Not many people I've talked to about a block away have said they've heard anything or knew what happened. So we are still just here monitoring the scene. But as you know, just a very, very sad. You can see even as the police officers are coming to put up the caution tape, you can see in their eyes. I mean, this is something you never want to come to. This is never something you want to get the call about. So I think a lot of emotions are high, a lot of tension in the air as we're trying to determine what exactly happened, what led to this shooting. But we do know a young officer has been shot, Milwaukee police officer in his 30s. We are going to continue to monitor this out here. But yeah, as of now, that's all we have.
All right, our Katie Crowther live on scene for us. Katie, thanks so much. We're talking about the area of 12th and Dakota as we continue to watch this live picture of law enforcement authorities that are gathered as the investigation continues into a report that a police officer was shot earlier this morning. You do see federal authorities there based on the backs of their jackets. Obviously, we have not had a chance to talk directly with any of them at this point because they're very busy, but we did see federal authorities there on location as well. Now, this picture is a different angle, and as we zoom in, you can see those people on the front porch of a building there. Again, we're talking about the area of 12th and Dakota on Milwaukee's south side.
Getting a little bit more information about the situation at Zablocki Elementary School nearby. Obviously concerned for continued safety in the neighborhood and for the children who are in that neighborhood. We're told that Zablocki is under what they call a code yellow, which means that no one is allowed inside the school or outside of the school. That is a precaution. We were told by someone at the school that the students and staff are safe for the time being. So there is concern, obviously, for, of course, the police officer who was shot. But then you also look at the larger neighborhood. There does not appear to be a sense of urgency in terms of out actively looking for that suspect from the shots that we're looking at right here. So in terms of the danger that could be presented to that neighborhood, does not appear to be an immediate concern, but that school remains on lockdown right now under a code yellow.
And so more on the Zablocki. They are waiting to receive updates from Milwaukee police to decide what they do next. And they're also saying that instruction can continue through this lockdown as they keep the kids safe. We're talking several blocks apart from this scene as well as where Zablocki Elementary is located. And from this shot now, as we zoom in, you can see Milwaukee Mayor Tom Barrett has arrived on scene and is there talking to local police and law enforcement about the ongoing investigation and the report that a Milwaukee police officer has been shot.
And multiple sources now confirming that, including Freidert Hospital. Said the officer was taken there, an officer in his late 20s or early 30s, taken to Freidert Hospital. Again, if you know the area, you know that St. Luke's Hospital is very nearby with an emergency department, but the Level 1 Trauma Care Center at Freidert Hospital is where the most critically injured patients are taken. So connecting those dots, it could mean that this officer's injuries were quite severe.
Yes, the officer brought in, according to Freighter, confirming that the officer was brought in with a gunshot wound, which coincides with reports that we received here into the newsroom from residents in the area who reported hearing shots fired earlier this morning. That was the initial, some of the initial reports that we received, that neighbors reported hearing those shots fired and that they were seeing a large police presence. As we continue to bring you these live pictures from the scene near 12th and Dakota, as you see various law enforcement vehicles. And our Sean Gallagher joins us live now. And Sean, you said you also saw a SWAT vehicle there on the scene.
That's what I'm assuming it is, Susan, from here. It's one of those big armored-looking vehicles from where we're from. But I've heard Katie talking about that she's 12th in Oklahoma. We're very close, but might as well be miles away at the moment as police continue this investigation. It looks like there are about a dozen vehicles that are out here on the street right now, and they continue to investigate. Sorry, getting a little bit of feedback there. But the porch that I can see from here, it looks like there are some officers on there. Can't tell if they're knocking on doors, doing this investigation or what. But like we've been saying, heavy police presence as they continue to investigate this scene, guys.
All right, thanks very much. We did get word that a suspect is now in custody. We don't know much beyond that, but we do know there is a suspect in custody as we watch this live picture here with officers there on the scene in a large area cordoned off and blocked off to the public as this investigation continues.
We were also told to expect some sort of update from authorities. Not sure if that will come from the Milwaukee Police Department, could come from the mayor's office. The mayor, as we showed you, Milwaukee Mayor Tom Barrett is on scene. We're looking for a way that he can not only lend his support, but also his help. If perhaps the mayor can share information and unburden the police department with that at the moment while they're still working on this case. He may do that, but we were told to expect some sort of official update from authorities coming up shortly. We are in position to get that for you with our multiple crews on scene right now.
So the latest is that the Milwaukee police officer has been shot. Freighter confirming that an officer brought in with a gunshot wound earlier this morning. A suspect is in custody, and local and federal law enforcement officials are on scene at this incident. And we're also getting reports. We saw the mayor of Milwaukee, Tom Barrett, has arrived on that location as well, as we await more word from Milwaukee police as to exactly what happened here earlier this morning.
The shot that we're going to bring you right now here at 18 minutes after 10 o'clock, reporting on breaking news, a Milwaukee police officer shot on Milwaukee's south side. This is our photojournalist, Tamat Wolverton, who's streaming us this video through his iPhone. He is very close to that investigation near 12th and Dakota. Again, information that today's TMJ4 has confirmed from multiple sources is that a Milwaukee police officer in his late 20s or early 30s was shot this morning on the south side, taken to Freighter Hospital where they have a level 1 trauma care center. Freighter reporting a gunshot wound to that officer.
And we continue to look at these live pictures of the location around 12th and Dakota as the investigation continues. Now, it seems as if at least part of the investigation is focusing on this home near 12th and Dakota. As you see law enforcement officers there on the front porch of the home and going over the case as we continue to get information about this officer shot. Information that we have confirmed from several sources that the officer was taken to Freighter Hospital. We do have our Adriana Mendez with us. And Adriana, what have you learned?
Well, we're still trying to learn more information on what exactly happened here. We're standing near 13th and Manitoba, and the police department has us pushed about a block back from where they seem to be gathering. Now, here on scene, there's multiple agencies here, Marquette PD, the fire department, including ATF agents. We also saw Mayor Barrett here as well, but they had the media pushed about a block back from where everyone seems to be standing around and gathering. That might be some sort of command post. Now, once again, we don't have a whole lot of information. We're working to find out information from those locals that are here, but once again, they have us blocked back about, pushed back about a block back, so we're still trying to gather some information as to what exactly happened, but we're going to keep you guys updated as soon as we find out anything on this.
That's our Adriana Mendez. She's on the east side of the large area that is blocked off right now. As you see, Milwaukee police still conferring with one another. You saw the mayor in the shot a little bit earlier, leaving that area. Marquette University police were some of the first to respond to early calls for an officer down. We're told simply from them that they were there to assist in whatever incident was playing out. As we later learned, that was a Milwaukee police officer who was shot early this morning.
And as we continue to gather information, just want to bring you up to date with the information that we have in terms of other buildings in the area. You can see the area of 12th and Dakota, where there are a lot of homes close by, a lot of neighbors in that area. Perhaps many of them were home at the time of this incident. And we are also hearing from Milwaukee Public Schools because Zablocki Elementary School is in that area, and the elementary school is in something they call a code yellow, which means no one is allowed in or out of the school, and they are also limiting student movement within the building. However, the idea being that instruction can continue as they remain in this code yellow situation. And obviously the school waiting to receive updates from the police department to decide what the next step should be as they continue to keep the kids safe.
Let's take a look at 1021 here on today's TMJ4. Live picture coming to us from Frederick Hospital in Wauwatosa, where we understand the injured police officer was taken. Frederick Hospital confirming they did receive that officer in his late 20s, early 30s with a gunshot wound earlier this morning. Our Sean Gallagher reported on what we would presume to have been the officer being transported, a Milwaukee Fire Department ambulance unit being escorted by a couple of squad cars moving very quickly through that residential area on its way to Frederick. I've been repeating this several times, but perhaps some folks are joining us just now. Frederick has the highest level trauma care center in southeast Wisconsin. And so you had an injured officer who could have gone to a hospital about, a mile away over at St. Luke's, 27th in Oklahoma, but instead was taken to Frederick. So that coincides right now with one report that I received from a Milwaukee Police Department source, someone who's close to the police department, who said the outlook for the officer is not good. So very concerning right now is that report here at 1022 on today's TMJ4.
Okay, on your screen right now, you're seeing a tweet from Greenfield Police Department where they are saying their thoughts and prayers are with Milwaukee Police Department at this time. Please keep this officer and department in your thoughts and prayers. And we are hearing from Greenfield Police as they hear about this news, along with all of us, as to what happened involving this Milwaukee police officer. We have several reports saying that the officer was shot and there is a suspect in custody. And as we go back to the scene, this is a live picture of Frederick where the officer was taken for a gunshot wound a short time ago. Let's go back to this scene now as we continue to stay on top of what has happened here. Our Katie Crowther joins us live now from the scene. And Katie, what are you seeing?
Susan, we are at the other side of the street that we were on a little bit earlier today. We are at 12th in Oklahoma, about a block away. We still see, a lot of police response. We see ATF agents. We see Milwaukee police investigators. Mayor Tom Barrett is on the scene. Something I definitely want to point out that you just mentioned is so many messages are already pouring in on social media and in other forms of the thoughts and prayers. Well, that is what I'm getting out here. So many people are stopping their cars. Neighbors in this area are stopping and talking to me and asking me what happened or what is this about. And when I tell them, the look on their face immediately changes and they are visibly upset. And many of them are telling me, oh no, not again. I'm going to be praying all day. So this is when Milwaukee really does come together. A lot of people are out here, even just keeping an eye on the scene. Some people are unable to get to their homes because such a large area is blocked off by caution tape as police investigate. That's just a necessary part of any investigation. But I saw one couple who's trying to get home and they're a little frustrated, but, not everyone knows exactly what happened. So they're just kind of standing around or going back in their car and going somewhere else for a few hours. But just a huge response out here. We are right by a Milwaukee police officer blocking the road at 12th and Oklahoma. And, you know, he is just making sure everything goes smoothly. I mean, there are dozens and dozens of Milwaukee police officers around this scene redirecting traffic. So you definitely, if you have to come to this area at all in the next few hours, you should really try and avoid it, because a lot of roads are blocked off. A lot of police presence is rerouting traffic. But I think really what's standing out where I am at 12th and Oklahoma is just the people asking what happened and then just sharing such messages of support and sadness and hope that this officer, all of our hope right now is that this officer is going to be okay. All we know is that he is in his 30s, a Milwaukee police officer shot here at 12th and Dakota. I will send it back to you for now, guys.
All right, Katie, thanks very much. And as you were reporting live for our audience, the Milwaukee Police Department did issue its first comment of the situation in a tweet, reading, "The Milwaukee Police Department is investigating a critical incident that occurred on the south side of Milwaukee. MPD is available for the media at 11 a.m. at 10th and Oklahoma. So in about 34 minutes, we will hear from Milwaukee Police in a live news conference that will be coming up. And we, of course, will be bringing that to you live when it happens.
We want to get to our Pete Servakis. He is now joining us live out at Fredert Hospital. And Pete, what have you learned? Fredert, one of the first sources to really confirm for us that, in fact, it was a Milwaukee police officer who was shot.
That's correct, Vince. They did get back to us pretty quickly. Now, we're standing near 87th in Wisconsin. Our ace photographer, Paul Marble, if he could maybe zoom in towards the bay there in the middle of these buildings. That's where the ambulances come in here at Fredert. We can tell you we drove through earlier. There's right now a pretty quiet scene there. Only a couple of Milwaukee County Sheriff's Office squad cars parked near the door. Fredert Hospital did confirm with us, however, within the last hour that a Milwaukee police officer was brought here. All they would say is that it was for a gunshot wound. They would not elaborate on that person's condition or anything like that, but they did confirm the officer is here at Fredert. In the meantime, just some other information we did get also within the last hour. If you guys haven't mentioned it already, I apologize. I know it's been a hectic morning, but Marquette Police confirmed with us that they are on their way to the south side, where we just heard from Katie, to help with the investigation into this shooting. But in the meantime, as you can see, we're going to stay here outside of Fredert. We're awaiting that update from MPD like everyone else. But the hospital, if you're just joining us, the important thing to note is that the hospital confirmed with us the officer is here, and they confirmed that it is for an injury sustained with a gunshot wound. Vincent, Susan?
All right, that is Pete Servakis reporting live for us at Fredert. We're starting to see more area first responders and law enforcement agencies responding with their thoughts. This from the Oak Creek Fire Department. Our thoughts are with the Milwaukee Police and their officer who was shot this morning. This one from Wauwatosa Police Department. Please join us and send your thoughts and prayers to the Milwaukee Police Department as news of an officer being shot this morning is breaking. And
also, there are several schools and daycares in that area of 12th and Dakota, another one being St. Joseph Academy, and writing that parents, if you saw the news, you may have seen there was a police officer shot. So they are on lockdown as well, saying that no persons will be allowed in or out right now, and they will be awaiting notification for authorities for the all clear. Everyone is safe, though, according to the school, and that's what they want to do as they continue to stay safe in light of the investigation that is going on right now.
Milwaukee Police Department promising an official update about 11 o'clock. They've told our crews where to gather there near the scene at 12th and Dakota. We understand that the chief of police, Alfonso Morales, is actually out of town at a conference, so we don't know who will be giving us that official information. Surely the chief has been apprised of this information, but we are told that he is out of town attending a conference, so it won't be the chief of police from whom we're hearing at the top of the hour, but we do expect that update coming in about a half hour.
Now let's get another update from the scene. Our Adriana Mendez joins us live now with what she's been able to find out. Adriana.
Yeah, well, we're standing near 13th and Manitoba, and the police department has us pushed about a block back from 12th and Manitoba, and that's where everyone seems to be gathering. I don't know if it's some sort of command post, but it's where we're seeing multiple agencies gathering, talking with one another. Doesn't seem like there's a sense of urgency, so it looks like they're just trying to investigate exactly what happened here in this area. Now, as I mentioned, multiple agencies are here on scene. We saw the fire department. We have heard from Pete Servakis that Marquette Police Department is on their way to help and assist with this investigation. We also saw Mayor Barrett here. So large police presence. A lot of blocks are blocked off at the moment. The traffic on 13th in Manitoba is free flowing, but this is right across from a daycare from where we're standing as well. And a lot of people here, a lot of residents gathering in this area, just looking to see what exactly happened as well. I spoke to some of the residents here, and they're just concerned, and they wanted to offer their thoughts and prayers to Milwaukee Police Department as they're going through this difficult time. But once again, not too much information that we know exactly at the moment. We're working to find out more information, but large police presence here at 12th in Manitoba. It could be some sort of command post where everyone is gathering. But for now, we're going to send it back to you guys.
All right, Adriana Mendez reporting live from the scene. This is Susan Kim along with Vince Vitrano bringing you live coverage of this breaking news this morning of a report of a Milwaukee police officer shot on location near 12th and Dakota. The suspect is in custody. As we take this live picture where the investigation at this point seems to be somewhat focused. We've seen law enforcement on the front porch of this home for a little while now investigating, and there are dozens of officers, as you can imagine, at this location, and several blocks are blocked off in that neighborhood as a result of this officer being shot.
We understand the officer was taken to Frederick Hospital. The first we began hearing about this, Susan, what, just about 9:45 this morning. Surely the incident happened before that, but that was in the form of police radio reports that we were overhearing in the newsroom. Our first indication that something terrible like this had happened. Confirmation coming from Frederick Hospital as well as several other sources, either within Milwaukee Police or close to the MPD, confirming that it was in fact an officer shot as we had feared. And now we are waiting on an update from MPD, which we expect about 11 o'clock from the scene. No official indication as to the condition of that police officer, but we've connected some dots. The officer was not taken to the nearest hospital, which would have been just about a mile away at St. Luke's, and taken instead to Frederick with a level 1 trauma care center. So that's not anything that we're being told from sources, just connecting those dots as to how severely the officer may have been injured.
We will likely get confirmation of some of that information, at least from Milwaukee Police, when they do have that news conference, which is coming up at 11 o'clock this morning from the location of 10th and Oklahoma. You're seeing pictures here of 12th and Dakota, so just a couple blocks from where they have us situated right now as the investigation continues. The report from Frederick that they did confirm that an officer was brought in with a gunshot wound. We got that confirmation about 45 minutes ago as we continue to gather information about what is happening. I'm looking at some of the pictures that we're seeing as well, and some solemn pictures coming into our newsroom of officers huddled together with their arms around each other. This one picture that I'm looking at, I would say there's at least a dozen officers or so gathered together. It looks as if they're in prayer or at least in deep thought together. You can see this picture that we got from Miguel here, and we are sharing it with you. Certainly a solemn scene there, as we also get more and more thoughts from various police departments in southeast Wisconsin. The latest one here that I'm reading from the West Allis Police Department, where they have posted on social media, "Thoughts to Milwaukee Police Department, please." So asking for the community's thoughts as the Milwaukee Police Department continues to deal with this very sad situation.
10:33 here on today's TMJ4. Still a lot of streets blocked off in that neighborhood, just a little bit north of Oklahoma, off of 12th Street there. Houses right on top of each other, residential community, classic Milwaukee South Side neighborhood. And you can see still a very large police response as this scene remains active. We want to get back to that scene. We'll check in with our Sean Gallagher, who's been there for about a half hour gathering information for us. Sean, what do you know?
Yeah, Vince, I've been keeping my eyes peeled on this home that's about halfway between Dakota and Manitoba on 12th Street. Police officers appear to be going in and out of this home, and a large group of them are on the porch at this moment. Again, there are people that are out and about. I actually saw officers allowed a man who slipped on the ice to go up past the tape and try to get to his home. So obviously the situation is a safe one at the moment here at 12th and Dakota as they continue the investigation. But if we can make any comparisons to the Officer Michalski investigation that we were a part of, I know that they had that scene taped off for almost a full day as they continued that investigation. And this looks very similar to it right now, especially when we compare the vast amount of space that they have taped off. We are looking at the porch right now, but between 11th Street, 12th Street, 13th Street, between Dakota and Oklahoma, every one of those streets has either vehicle or tape blocked off. So this is a heavy police presence as they continue to investigate after one of their own has been shot in the line of duty, guys.
All right, Sean Gallagher, thanks so much. And Sean, I'm interested because you were actually out doing a different kind of story earlier this morning when you saw something that really got your attention. What time was that? And can you describe to our viewers what you saw?
Yeah, guys, so we were driving by the Mitchell Park Domes. We were actually headed back to our station on a story we were doing before. And I was actually on the phone with one of our producers that was telling me that there was a possibility of an officer shot. As they said that, I heard a lot of sirens behind us, and there were 2 squad cars that were escorting Milwaukee Fire Department paramedic unit. An SUV was just blazing past us. It got up to an intersection and completely blocked it so that the MFD paramedic unit could get past and drive. I could only assume that they were headed in this direction with that kind of presence and that kind of urgency during that time of day.
And do you remember about what time that was that you saw that?
It was probably about an hour ago at this point. It's 10:30 now. I would say that it was probably around 9:30 or so, give or take.
Well, that really jives with our timeline here as well, Sean. As we said, we first started hearing indications of something perhaps terrible having happened inside the hour or so. So that's timeline really coincides with everything that we were hearing here in our today's TMJ4 newsroom. Sean Gallagher there live reporting for us from the scene. Vince Vetrano here along with Susan Kim, bringing you breaking news coverage from today's TMJ4. Milwaukee police officer shot. Only information that we have confirmed about the officer is that he was in his late 20s or early 30s and was taken to Frederick Hospital with a gunshot wound. I don't have an update. We are trying to get an update on that officer's condition so that we can pass that along to you and share how that officer is doing right now. We expect to learn that in an 11 o'clock briefing from authorities that we have been promised from MPD.
So that's coming up in about 20 minutes, that a news conference from Milwaukee Police. So as we continue to put the pieces together of what possibly happened here, we did get reports from neighbors that they had heard shots fired and that they saw this large police presence. Beyond that, we don't know much in terms of just the actual incident itself. Was there a call that brought police there? What were they doing there in the first place? We don't have that information quite yet. Again, that could be coming out in about 20 minutes with this news conference. In the meantime, there are schools and daycares in that area, and if you are a parent and have a child, say at Zablocki Elementary School or a daycare center there, obviously a concern for safety. We have heard from them, and they say they are on lockdown, they are keeping the kids in the building, and they are safe. But keep in mind also, good news in that is that Milwaukee police are saying that the suspect is in custody.
More and more area first responders, fire departments, police departments sending their thoughts about this and well wishes to Milwaukee Police Department. Here's the latest from West Allis Police. Thoughts to Milwaukee Police Department, please. And then that is racking up all kinds of comments, people from the community talking about how sad it is, the news that they are learning, that a police officer was shot, sending prayers, all the comments going along with those posts from area police departments as well. We saw well wishes from Greenfield Police, Wauwatosa Police, Franklin Fire Department, others jumping in to offer their support for MPD.
Yeah, Oak Creek also saying that they are sharing their thoughts and asking people to share thoughts as well. Let's go to our Kristen Burns. She joins us live now with the information that she's been able to find. Kristen.
Susan, I am at Zablocki Public School here, K4 to grade 5. You see the police presence outside the school. The school is on code yellow. It's a sort of lockdown, which means no one is allowed in or out. Again, this is a public school that is near the incident of where we're hearing this shooting took place. So that is the reason why the school decided to put the kids and staff members under code yellow. No one allowed in or out right now, but instruction can continue. And I just got a text from Andy Nelson with Milwaukee Public Schools. The code yellow has just been lifted. Again, I just received a text from Andy Nelson. He is the spokesperson for Milwaukee Public Schools, telling me that code yellow has been lifted. Now, I do want to mention I spoke with another mother who's near the scene. She lives near here. Her daughter, her 13-year-old daughter, attends St. Joseph Academy. Now, that is a private school, again, near this location. It's on Oklahoma. She told me that she received an alert from the school, from St. Joseph Academy, letting them know that they were on external lockdown, which means no persons allowed in or out. So that was sent again from St. Joseph Academy, which is a private school. But I want to reiterate, even though we see this large police presence outside of Zablocki, which is at really 10th and Manitoba, the public school near where we're hearing the shooting took place, the code yellow lockdown has been lifted just minutes ago. The spokesperson for Milwaukee Public Schools telling me they are sending an auto dialer call out to all of the families who have children at Zablocki Public Schools. So for the parents out there, if your child does attend Zablocki Public Schools, you will be getting an auto dialer call letting you know that the code yellow lockdown has been lifted. For now, there is still a police presence here at 10th and Manitoba at the location of Zablocki Public Schools. So this, I'm assuming, will be here for quite some time as they continue to make sure that everyone is safe and just is not, in the way. And the streets are still sectioned off around the school as well. So even though the lockdown has been lifted, the police presence remains. Susan and Vince?
All right, Kristen Byrne live for us at Zablocki Elementary. Kristen, thanks so much for that update. Again, saying that the code yellow has been lifted, which is certainly a relief, I'm sure, for parents and for the school officials there as they had their kids in a safe place while this investigation continues.
Yeah, Susan, you pointed out just a couple of minutes ago, in fact, Milwaukee police did say that the suspect is in custody, so there does not appear to be an immediate threat to anyone in that neighborhood or certainly to those students in the school nearby. That really coincides with what we've seen. While it is still a very active scene and you have a lot of investigation going on, it did not appear at any point that we began getting live pictures from about 12th and Dakota that police at that point were engaged in a search looking for someone at that time. It was more a static scene where they were investigating. And this appears to be one of the areas of focus, this home where we've seen ATF agents and Milwaukee police on that front porch there of a house.
And again, we are staying on top of this breaking news near 12th and Dakota on the south side. Our Katie Crowther is also there on location and joins us live now with the information that she's been able to gather. Katie.
Susan and Vinny, I am actually here at 12th and Oklahoma, about a block or two away. This area is still totally blocked off by caution tape. Right now, we are in District 6, Milwaukee Police District 6 for the police department. A lot of the officers from District 6 are blocking off the roads here. If you need to get to this area, avoid it. I have witnessed as many people who live on 12th Street or live in the area that's blocked off are trying to get home, and they are not being allowed back in their homes yet. So, I mean, and when they're finding out what's happening, all they can say, too, is how upset and sad they are to hear that this happened. So a lot of emotion, a lot of, just that how can this keep happening? A Milwaukee police officer shot. We don't know the circumstances as to what led to the shooting. We do know he is in his 30s. He has been taken to Freighter. Here on the scene, there are less investigators out in their car now, or outside of their cars now. So there are still some emergency responders and investigators out here, but a little bit ago, they were more gathered outside. That is less the case now. They are now in their cars. Some of them have left the scene. But this is going to be a long and very active investigation. In just a little bit, Milwaukee police will be briefing the media and public about 2 blocks away from where I am right now. So we are hoping to get more information then. But, the real feel out here in the community, this is a very residential, tight-knit area. People are upset. You hate to hear of something like this happening, and people are coming up, talking to me, asking me, do I know anything more? And, until we know more, everyone is just praying, trying to stay positive, trying to put all their energy into hoping that this police officer is okay.
can certainly understand that. Katie Crow, the reporting live for us, and the new information she's referring to, that news conference happening at 11 o'clock. We also have a new comment from Milwaukee Police on Twitter.
Yeah, MPD is confirming there is no danger to the public. That's the latest official statement from the Milwaukee Police Department, coming within just the last couple of minutes. The only other thing that we've heard publicly from Milwaukee Police was something posted on Twitter about 20 minutes ago. The Milwaukee Police Department is investigating a critical incident that occurred on the south side of Milwaukee. MPD is available for the media at 11 a.m., 10th and Oklahoma. That's the update that Katie was referring to. We are in position to bring that information to you live this morning. Again, Milwaukee Chief of Police Alfonso Morales was out of town attending an event in conjunction with his duties as Chief of Police. I am told by a source close to MPD that he is already trying to make his way back to Milwaukee in response to this incident, so would like to get back as quickly as possible. But the chief is out of town. Not sure where that update is going to come from. We're told the chief is trying to get back to Milwaukee to address this incident.
And as far as Milwaukee Police confirming there is no danger to the public, that obviously goes in line with what our Kristen Byrne told us not more than 5 minutes ago, that the code yellow at Milwaukee Public Schools, Zablocki Elementary, which is nearby, had been dropped. And so that obviously coincides with the report that Milwaukee Police is sharing with the public right now, that there is no danger to the public and that a suspect is in custody for the shooting. Our sources telling us that a police officer was shot and taken to Fredert around 9:30 this morning, as we try to put the timeline together of what exactly happened here on Milwaukee's south side.
It's 10:46 on today's TMJ4. For those just joining us, let's reset for you everything that we know and have confirmed. We do know that a Milwaukee police officer was shot. Sounds like about 9:30 this morning near 12th and Dakota, just a couple of blocks north of Oklahoma in that south side neighborhood. Milwaukee police on scene. The Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms on scene, as well as Marquette University police were told. MU police responded just because they were close and had word of a critical incident, so they responded in an assisting role. If you see any of those Marquette University vehicles there, that explains why they're on location.
We're going to go to our Mary Jo Ola, who is at 10th and Oklahoma, where that news conference is going to be taking place at 11 o'clock this morning. And Mary Jo, what can you tell us?
And we're here at 10th and Oklahoma. Definitely a significant police presence out here as we take a look around. We are just in the front of the Zablocki Elementary School, and since we've been here, we've seen quite a few parents walking their kids out of the school. Also noticed some police officers helping escort those parents and students across the street to their cars. So I know they were on lockdown when this call first went out, but as we've seen a handful of parents come out walking with their kids, I've tried talking with a couple of them to hear what their concerns are or what the notice they got from the school was, but a lot of them not ready to talk right now, just wanting to get their kids and get home and get to work. But in this area where we're at 10th and Oklahoma, you can kind of see that the police officers are lined up down several blocks. So while this shooting incident happened at 12th and Dakota area, they have a pretty large perimeter here blocking off traffic to the scene. Now, it's going to be in this corner. You can see all the media kind of setting up here where we're expecting Milwaukee police to brief us on the incident, give us an update on how the officer's doing, and hopefully learn more information on the suspect they have in custody.
Mary Jo Ola reporting there about 10th and Oklahoma. Mary Jo, thanks so much for that update from that perspective. 10:48 here on today's TMJ4. We obviously have reporters out from every direction of this incident. That's where we expect that briefing coming from police. About 12 minutes be a first official word from MPD outside of what they posted to Twitter, simply that they were responding to an incident, and that their second tweet that there is no immediate danger to the public at this time as a suspect is in custody.
Yeah, all Milwaukee police really have said in that tweet they're investigating what they're calling a critical incident, as Vince alluded to. And we continue to watch these live pictures coming to us from 12th and Dakota, as you see a large police presence continuing to be there, and several blocks are cordoned off, although it looks like they are starting to wrap up at least one area there by putting cones in the back of that Milwaukee police SUV. Our Elise Preston joins us live now with more information on what she's been able to gather.
Yeah, well, Susan, Vince, right now, area police departments are pouring in their thoughts and prayers to Milwaukee police. Greenfield police tweeted, "Thoughts and prayers are with Milwaukee Police Department at this time. Please keep this officer and department in your thoughts." West Alice posted on Facebook, "Thoughts to the Milwaukee Police Department, please." Oak Creek also weighing in, "Our thoughts and are with the Milwaukee police and their officer who was shot this morning." Oak Creek Fire Department just tweeted that out. And Wauwatosa Police tweeted, "Please join us and send your thoughts and prayers to the Milwaukee Police Department," as news of an officer being shot this morning is breaking. And this is the third officer shot in Milwaukee. Milwaukee police have had 2 officers shot and killed in 8 months. Officer Charles Irvine Jr. was killed June 7th. His squad car crashed during a police chase. Irvine was 23 years old, and 7 weeks prior to that, on July 12th, Officer Michael Mahowski died in a shootout with a wanted suspect, and Officer Mahowski was a 17-year veteran with MPD.
We certainly, at this point, don't have any confirmation on the condition of this police officer.
Correct.
And we expect to get that hopefully at this briefing from MPD at 11 o'clock.
What we do know is that Frederick Hospital did confirm to our Pete Servakis that a Milwaukee police officer was brought into the hospital suffering from a gunshot wound. And that would coincide with reports that neighbors shared with us that they did hear shots being fired, but around 9:30 this morning, and that heavy police presence there as well. As we continue to monitor this situation, Milwaukee police did say in a tweet that there is no danger to the public. A suspect is in custody. We did learn that. And you can see police, it looks like they were wrapping up in that location at least by putting equipment back into their SUV. And then this is the front porch that we've been keeping an eye on this morning, Vince.
Yeah, I want to get back to our Sean Gallagher. He is on scene. And Sean, for those viewers who might just be tuning in, could you tell us about what you witnessed as you were on your way to this breaking story? It would be all indications that it was, in fact, the injured officer probably on his way to Frederick Hospital this morning.
And we just, go ahead. I'm sorry,
Yeah, that's
Sean.
absolutely correct.
Go ahead.
No worries. Absolutely correct. That was about 9:30 this morning. We were headed back to the station from a story that we shot early this morning, and we got a call that there was a possibility of an officer-involved shooting. Almost at that same moment, there was a large police presence along with a Milwaukee Fire paramedic unit that just zipped by us right by the Mitchell Park Domes. Again, that was about 9:30. I haven't seen anything quite like that. 2 vehicles, one behind, one in front of this ambulance, and as they got up to the following intersection, the one SUV blocked traffic in all directions so that fire truck had the fastest route to where it was going. Again, I can only assume that this was related to this because, quite frankly, I've never seen quite a response like that. Now, back out here at 12th and Dakota, we are keeping our eyes peeled on this porch that is in between Dakota, or in between on 12th Street between Dakota and Manitoba. Officers have been going in and out of that house, hanging out on the porch as they continue this investigation this morning.
All right, our Sean Gallagher reporting live on what he witnessed at about 9:30 this morning as he was working on a story, and what it may be in regards and how it may be related to this shooting of a police officer that occurred probably around 9:30 here on Milwaukee's south side. We did get word that that news conference we've been telling you about that was scheduled to start at 11 o'clock this morning at 10th and Oklahoma near the scene has been moved now to noon, and it will be held at Frederick Hospital. So again, that news conference that we have been telling you about that would start at 11 o'clock has been moved back an hour to noon, and it will now be moved to Frederick Hospital. And our Pete Servakis is at Frederick Hospital right now and joins us live now with more on what he's been able to learn. Pete.
All right, while we wait on trying to get Pete up to hear from him at Frederick, again, Milwaukee Police Department confirming that there is no danger to the public in terms of people that we have seen on scene. Susan mentioned the mayor was there. We were told the Milwaukee County District Attorney's Office had presence on scene as well, and not seen DA John Chisholm to this point. That doesn't mean he's not personally there, but definitely looking for him. But we are told the DA's office does have presence on scene.
Vince, while we do know right now, according to Milwaukee police, that there is not a threat on scene, I did talk to a lot of neighboring businesses nearby on this scene right here, and they're saying one of the businesses, actually a daycare, is Happy Days Daycare, and we were told that the children at that daycare center, they're safe, they're inside, but the daycare owner did tell us that, you know, that parents who are coming to pick up their children, parents who want to check on their children, that they fear that they actually might have a problem getting to the daycare center because all of those streets nearby this 12th and Dakota scene, that they are shut down. So a lot of families may not be able to get to their children if they are worried. That's what we heard from the daycare center. A lot of other businesses said that, you know, some people were trying to get to their businesses. There was a market owner that I talked to, and she said that earlier, you know, people were coming in, that they had heard that they had seen this police presence, and the shop owner that I talked to said that a lot of people, that there were about 30 cars on the scene when this first happened. A lot of people were coming in and out of the doors, but she said that people were not able to get to those businesses. So if you are also thinking of going in that direction, you might want to be careful, especially those families who have their children going to that Happy Days Daycare Center. But the owner, again, she said that the children are safe and they are inside. That daycare is not on lockdown, but they do fear that families will not be able to get to their kids if they wanted to check on them.
Right, and a good thing for the daycare and other businesses and homeowners in that area to keep in mind is that Milwaukee police are saying that there is no threat to the public right now and that they do have a suspect in custody, which should bring relief to people in that community who may be wondering, you know, still what is going on.
Could be one of the reasons that they wanted to move that news conference away from this scene and get at least the areas that aren't under immediate investigation that remain blocked off, clear those areas out as best they can and let that neighborhood get back to normal in those spots.
You got to think of all the confusion that these families who live there are going through right now. You know, they heard these shots ring out about 9:45 this morning. They are now surrounded by Milwaukee police and Marquette University police, as you see, which is not normal for them to necessarily show up to a scene. And they just kind of don't know what's going on. You know, information is pouring into our newsroom as we are getting it, and we're sharing it with you here and online at tmj4.com. But you got to imagine, too, just what those families who live there are thinking and feeling right now.
All right, so we are on the air with you with this breaking news. The report of a Milwaukee police officer shot. A suspect is in custody as we continue to bring you this live coverage. We want to go to Frederick Hospital now with our Pete Zervakas. That is where Milwaukee police will update the media on what happened here, and hopefully we'll get an update on the officer's condition as well. That news conference is happening at noon, and Pete Zervakas joins us live now from Frederick. Pete?
We've been here for a little over an hour now, about an hour, and we can tell you that within the last probably 20 minutes, we have seen more and more Milwaukee police squads arriving here at Frederick. We're standing at 87th in Wisconsin. Of course, straight ahead of us is a big cancer center. There's the port there where you usually see the ambulances arriving at the ER. The road in front of us, we've been seeing MPD squad cars driving up there. They kind of pass the cancer center and then veer in between those buildings into the parking garage. You mentioned that police are going to be having a news conference here. It was originally set to be happening near the shooting scene. They have moved it here. We're told it's going to start at noon. Until we hear that news conference, the only information we have confirmed, I want to stress this, is from Frederick that the officer has been brought here, and they did confirm with us that it's a gunshot wound. They said no other information about the officer's condition was available, that would have to come from MPD. So presumably at that noon news conference, we should get some more answers about that officer's condition. Vincent, Susan?
Pete Zervakas live for us at Frederick Hospital as we come up on 11 o'clock here on today's TMJ4. Breaking news coverage of the police officer having been shot on Milwaukee's south side early this morning, about 9:30 a.m.
And, you know, the police community obviously very tight and close, and we're hearing from other police departments in the area now as word gets out that an officer has been shot with the Milwaukee Police Department. We're hearing from departments like West Allis saying that their thoughts are with the Milwaukee Police Department. Wauwatosa Police also chiming in. Oak Creek Fire Department saying that their thoughts are with the Milwaukee Police as their officer who was shot this morning. So we're seeing a lot of other departments sharing their thoughts and hopes with Milwaukee police and with the public, really, because this is a story that really impacts the entire community.
We are waiting for that official update from the Milwaukee Police Department. We expect that to be at noon today's TMJ4 will stick with this continuing coverage as we learn more information here this morning. As we mentioned, the Chief of Police, Alfonso Morales, is out of town, was attending either a meeting or some sort of conference in line with his official duties with MPD. So we are also told that he is quickly trying to make his way back to Milwaukee to be with his department and his officers.
And as we mentioned about other departments sharing their thoughts with Milwaukee Police, you're seeing a tweet that Wauwatosa Police posted on Twitter a short time ago. It reads, "Please join us and send your thoughts and prayers to the Milwaukee Police Department as news of an officer being shot this morning is breaking." And that's from Wauwatosa Police, but seeing several sentiments like it being shared on social media from various police departments. Right now, this is a live picture now from 12th and Dakota in the area there where you can see streets in that neighborhood are still cordoned off. A lot of law enforcement still there on the scene, even though Milwaukee Police are saying that there is no general threat to the public. They do have a suspect in custody, but obviously a lot of investigative work still needs to continue.
Another tweet, this from Wisconsin Public Safety. A Milwaukee police officer has been shot in line of duty on the city's south side, awaiting more information from MPD. But again, just another law enforcement agency chiming in and wanting to be updated on the situation and wanting people to keep MPD in their thoughts this morning.
Yeah, and Greenfield Police, too, saying that their thoughts and prayers are with Milwaukee Police at this time. Please keep this officer and department in your thoughts and prayers today. Several departments sharing their thoughts with the general public as news of the police officer being shot continues to spread throughout the southeast Wisconsin community. This is a live picture now coming to us from the scene of the shooting here at 12th and Dakota in that area, and you can see police tape cordoned off in that neighborhood. This is a community on the south side. Many of you probably know the south side of Milwaukee. They're tight-knit communities. Homes are pretty close to each other, and you can see as we zoom in here, this seems to be a location of focus for law enforcement there on the scene.
Right near that scene, our reporter Sean Gallagher, who's been checking in with us for the last hour here this morning. Sean, what do you know?
Yeah, Vincent, Susan, I will tell you, very recently they put up the red tape right in front of that home where the police have been hanging out on the porch, going inside and out of that house. Anybody who has been on a crime scene before knows that never a good sign when they have the red tape up. Usually means that there's something serious that they are investigating. Again, this tape I've just seen probably within the last 5 or 10 minutes. Right here, we're at 12th and Dakota. They are on 12th Street, about halfway between Dakota and Manitoba, guys.
All right, Sean, and I just happened to be looking at your Twitter account where you have posted video of a police escort from earlier today. Share with us what prompted you to take this video and what it may indicate related to this investigation.
Yeah, the video is not great, I will say that, but it is something. We saw as we were driving past the Mitchell Park Domes around 9:30 this morning, heading back to the station from our other story. We heard a lot of sirens behind us. And
hey, Sean, I just want to interrupt you real quickly. I'm sorry. Apologies to Sean there at the scene. 2 minutes after 11 here. Let's go to Milwaukee Alderman Bob Donovan, longtime alderman from the South Side. We'll listen into his comments.
And just when I saw you, the first thing you said was, I can't believe this is happening again.
Yeah, I can't believe it. But this will give you an indication of how challenging this work is. And how we as a community need to rally behind our officers to ensure that they have the support and the backing that they deserve. And it just goes to show that people are, these officers put their, it's almost a cliche, putting their life on the line, but this is obviously not a cliche when things like this occur. And it's just a sad day for Milwaukee. But I'm confident this department is resilient and will respond and continue to do the excellent job that they have over these many years.
Alderman, have you been in touch with Milwaukee Police directly? And if so, what have they told you?
Just through text messages with the chief of staff. Other than that, no. I'm just heading out to Freighter shortly.
Do you know anything about what they were doing here today?
It's my understanding serving a warrant, but I could be mistaken. Again,
Okay.
you know, there's oftentimes misinformation is spread quickly following situations like this, but it's my understanding that this officer was part of a special unit and serving a warrant, apparently.
Thank you. Thanks for stopping.
You bet. Thank you. Thank you. Yep.
City of Milwaukee Alderman Bob Donovan, longtime alderman from the south side of Milwaukee, also very close to law enforcement. Anyone who knows Alderman Donovan would know that law and order is kind of a signature of his. He is currently the vice chairman of the Public Safety Committee, so obviously has close ties to Milwaukee Police in that oversight role, but also a lot of relationships with law enforcement officers in his district. He has been involved in a number of efforts to raise private money to help make the streets safer and assist officers who regularly patrol his district. So it was Alderman Bob Donovan from the Milwaukee Common Council.
You could feel that emotion as he was talking, and he kind of broke down a little bit, but then caught himself as he was talking about this investigation as it unfolds. And he did, if you were paying, if you heard that just from him, from Alderman Donovan, he said that officers were serving a warrant, and that's when all of this unfolded this morning at about 9:45.
Yeah, he's saying the community needs to rally around our officers, talking about his disbelief. He can't believe that this has happened, referring to a report that a Milwaukee police officer was shot earlier this morning. A suspect is in custody. And what you're seeing on your screen right now as we continue our live breaking news coverage here on today's TMJ4 is a really powerful photo of about a dozen officers gathered with their heads down and their arms around each other as they are in thought or prayer in regards to what has happened this morning. Now back to a live picture as we take a look at the scene. Again, we're in the area of 12th and Dakota, and several blocks in and around that area continue to be blocked off. However, we have seen some officers packing up and leaving the area, but for the most part, the neighborhood around that 12th and Dakota community remains blocked off this morning as the investigation continues. Our live camera is panning over. We have been focusing on this home because we have seen law enforcement on the front porch there throughout the morning as we continue our live coverage. There's a report, we do believe the reports of shots fired came in around 9:30 this morning. That is when we started to hear reports of this possibly having happened.
Right when that happened, there was concern for the safety of people in that neighborhood. We've been talking about this classic south side of Milwaukee neighborhood, houses right on top of each other, very close up to the sidewalk. Elementary school in the area, Zablocki, a daycare in the area, private school as well. I think St. Anthony's is in that area. And so there was certainly concern for people who lived in the neighborhood. Milwaukee police sources indicating to us that a suspect is in fact in custody. MPD officially stating that there is presently no danger to the public. So obviously if you look at this scene, you think, my, there are a lot of police here, a lot of investigators here, perhaps there's still some danger. This is the investigation end of what they're doing right now, and nothing that people who live in that area or have family or friends at the schools around there need to be concerned about in terms of their safety right now.
And we have been continuing to share information on social media where different organizations are asking for prayers and sharing their thoughts about what has happened this morning. And here is another one from Wisconsin cops. Please join us and send your thoughts and prayers to the Milwaukee Police Department as news of an officer being shot this morning is breaking. Our hearts are with the officer, family, and all involved. And that tweet just being posted on social media certainly thought that we have seen echoed throughout departments here in southeast Wisconsin. As you probably know, I mean, law enforcement is a very tight brotherhood. And so when an officer in one department is hurt or shot on the job, that is the type of thing that really resonates with every department in the community and really around the country.
I want to get one more report from the scene here as we come up on just about 10 minutes after 11 o'clock. Our Adriana Mendez has been on scene for about an hour. Adriana, what are you learning?
Yeah, like you mentioned, Vince, we've been on scene for about an hour, and when we first got here, we saw a large police presence right at 12th and Manitoba. It seems that that presence has kind of died down. We saw a lot of officers leave the scene, but I've also seen officers hug one another in support, and the residents that live around here, I spoke to some of them, and they say they're distraught about this, they're heartbroken, their thoughts and prayers are with MPD, so just very a difficult time for everyone that lives around here and for the police department. Now, we saw multiple agencies out here, ATF, Marquette PD, as we mentioned, along with, we saw Mayor Barrett out here as well. But once again, it looks like the scene is starting to die down in this area. I think there is also a Milwaukee transit bus as well. Not sure if that's a warming station for these officers or whatnot, but there is a Milwaukee transit bus also located here on scene. So the feeling is kind of somber in this area. People are concerned that live around here. Their thoughts and prayers are just with the Milwaukee Police Department as they're going through this time, and we're working to find out more information from where we're located here. And as soon as we find out anything, we're going to keep you guys updated. Back to you guys in the studio.
All right, Adriana Mendez reporting live for us from the scene. Again, we're on at 11:10. We are waiting for a news conference with Milwaukee Police that's scheduled for noon, and it will be at Frederick Hospital. And there we are hoping to get information about the officer, obviously his condition of great importance to the community, and then as well as what happened here that led to the shooting.
Got to be of great concern, as we heard Sean Gallagher recount his seeing the what we presume was that injured officer in a Milwaukee Fire Department ambulance being escorted by a couple of Milwaukee police squads on its way to Frederick Hospital. Level 1 trauma center at Frederick, despite being about a mile away from an emergency room there at St. Luke's. We've made that point several times over, but folks are just joining us now and getting into our coverage here. So if you know the area, you're just north of Oklahoma, just a few blocks really from 27th and Oklahoma, where you have St. Luke's. It does have an emergency room, obviously. Could have treated the officer there, but for severe injuries that are best treated at the Level 1 Trauma Care Center that they have at Frederick, and that is where the officer was taken about 9:45 this morning.
And Frederick had confirmed earlier this morning that, yes, an officer had been brought in suffering from a gunshot wound. That report coming to us shortly after we were hearing reports about what happened here on the south side. We continue to bring you live pictures of the scene as we see law enforcement. It looks as if they are starting to wrap up their work there at the location. Let's get some confirmation of that with our Katie Crowther, who is there in the neighborhood. Hi, Katie.
Hi there. You know, we are here at 12th and Oklahoma, about a block away, and as you can see, more investigators have arrived on the scene. This is a fairly new development because for a while the scene had cleared a little bit, but now we're seeing more people coming out. They are with the DOJ, Department of Justice, so the State Department of Justice. So now we have a new set of investigators on the scene trying to determine what happened. This, as many residents, I can see a resident coming out of their house right now, kind of looking around, trying to get updates. For now, many of us are not getting many updates. Homeowners are coming up to me, trying to ask me for more information, or people walking through this area, a lot of them just finding out what happened, visibly upset, immediately saying that they will be praying for this officer and that they're just so sad to hear and see that this happened in their own neighborhood. A very tight-knit community, a very, South Side. Residents look out for each other and look out for police. So this is definitely a shock for them. Many people who were gone while this happened cannot access their homes now. They are not allowed back in their homes, so they're having to go find something else to do for a while. This is going to be a very long investigation, as you can imagine. We're just a few blocks also from where Alderman Bob Donovan just spoke. Alderman Bob Donovan saying that he believes he heard that the police officer was executing a search warrant at a home. And that is, we saw a large group of officers and ATF agents outside a home on the sidewalk in the wake of the news that an officer was shot at 12th and Dakota. So we're obviously a lot of moving pieces to learning what exactly happened, what exactly went wrong, but we are still out here on the scene trying to get as many updates as we can. As this is Milwaukee Police District 6. A lot of those officers are the one who are out here with me right now, making sure roads are blocked off, making sure the investigators have everything they need, have the room they need to get the investigation done. You know, I was talking to the officer who's just here in his car blocking off the scene, and you know, he's visibly upset. I mean, this is a call you never want to get as a police officer, to hear that one of your own has been hurt. And so it's just a very active, very emotional scene out here, and we will continue to bring you the latest. But as of now, it's still just very a fluid situation.
All right, that's our Katie Crowther at about 11:15 here on today's TMJ4. Katie, thank you.
All right, now we want to go to our Kristen Byrne, who is also live there on the south side. Kristen?
Susan, minutes ago, I spoke with a mom who has 2 children at Blocky Public School here at 10th and Manitoba. It is here at 10. Told me that all these flashing lights, the siren, the kids in her name.
The kids don't know what's going on. They just know that they're on lockdown. They have different codes that they say, so they're not like back and checked once they were on lockdown, and they said that the students are in their classrooms and back doing classwork.
As a mom, how scary is this for you?
It's really scary. That's why I've been here since since before all these officers were here, I was here. Like when I seen it happening, when I seen that, I parked immediately and I just stayed out here.
Are you going to take your kid out early?
No, I'm not going to go in there. And I feel like the school, that's probably the safest place for them right now, is to be inside the school on lockdown. And I know with lockdowns.
And they did lift it. So
they did lift it?
Yeah,
okay.
Code yellow.
No, I think I'll leave them because I think they'll be more freaked out coming out, seeing all of this going on. And they'll be like, well, that's ruining my schedule, my daily schedule. So I don't want to do that to them.
That was our Kristen Byrne reporting live, talking to a mom there. You can certainly see and hear the relief in her voice to know that her kids are safe. You can understand certainly the concern that she had after hearing reports of shots fired in your child's school on lockdown. We are seeing other law enforcement departments also sharing their thoughts with the Milwaukee Police Department. Waukesha County Sheriff's Office posting on Twitter right now, our thoughts and prayers are going out to the Milwaukee Police family.
We want to get to an earlier interview that we did with Milwaukee Alderman Bob Donovan, longtime alderman from the south side of Milwaukee, vice chair of the Public Safety Committee with extensive relationships with law enforcement. Let's hear from Alderman Donovan.
It's almost a cliche, putting their life on the line, but this is obviously not a cliche when things like this occur. And it's just a sad day for Milwaukee. But I'm confident this department is resilient and will respond and continue to do the excellent job that they have over these many years.
Alderman, have you been in touch with Milwaukee Police directly, and if so, what have they told you?
Just through text messages with the Chief of Staff. Other than that, no. I'm just heading out to Freighter shortly.
Do you know anything about what they were doing here today?
It's my understanding serving a warrant, but I could be mistaken. Again,
okay.
There's oftentimes misinformation is spread quickly following situations like this, but it's my understanding that this officer was part of a special unit and serving a warrant, apparently.
That's City of Milwaukee Alderman Bob Donovan from the south side. Map gets pretty congested in there. I'm not sure if that's Alderman Donovan's district. I don't think it is, but either way, 12th and Dakota would come very close to the Alderman's district if it's not within his district. Nonetheless, he's a south sider, and those guys know each other well. And Alderman Donovan, again, as vice chair right now, the Public Safety Committee has very important relationships with everyone in the Milwaukee Police Department.
And this is a live picture of Frederick Hospital right now, where we are expecting a news conference with Milwaukee Police at noon today. Our Pete Zervakis is already there and joins us live now with the information that he's been able to gather at that location. Pete, good morning.
Well, Susan, until we hear the details of that news conference you mentioned, which again is at noon, all we can tell you is that the hospital confirmed to us the officer who was injured in that shooting this morning on the south side. That scene that you have been looking at pictures of all morning has been brought here. The hospital confirmed to us that officer was brought here with a gunshot wound. No other update since then on that officer's condition. In the meantime, as we've been standing here on this corner near 87th and Wisconsin, we do want to stress that the hospital told us it is okay for us to stay here. We are trying to stay back. Obviously, it's a busy morning here. We have seen more and more MPD squad cars arriving here at Frederick, parking just as you look to the left of the big gray building in front of you. That's the Cancer Center. To the left of it down below, we've seen more and more Milwaukee Police squad cars parking there, arriving here at the medical campus. In the meantime, we did also see a couple of Milwaukee County Sheriff's Office squads that were stationed out by the ambulance bay when we first arrived, and they have been here since we arrived. So we're going to stay here on scene, and of course, like everybody else, we're waiting to hear more details about what transpired at this noon conference scheduled for right here at Frederick at noon. Susan and Vince.
All right, Pete Zervakis live for us out at Frederick Hospital. Thanks very much, Pete, for the information that you've gathered for us. We will be returning to Frederick, obviously, for that news conference and for any other updates we get as we continue our live breaking news coverage here on today's TMJ4. Right now, we're back on Milwaukee's south side with a shot of the neighborhood where this all went down. Still unclear about the circumstances surrounding what happened and how this officer was shot. Southside Alderman Bob Donovan did share that he thought perhaps he was in the process of serving some sort of warrant, but he wasn't sure about that. That was just his initial report. You know, information like this comes in when we have a breaking news story, so we're just gathering information, sharing with you what we know. That's what Alderman Bob Donovan said. We will likely or hopefully get some more confirmation of that with that news conference coming up at noon today.
Chief of Police is out of town. He was on official business attending either meeting or conference. And I am told by a source close to MPD that the chief is trying to make his way back to Milwaukee. Obviously, you can imagine the chief is concerned for his officers and for his department when you have a situation like this, and is doing his best to get back to Milwaukee. But we do not believe that the chief will be part of that news conference. That update coming our way at the top of the hour as he is out of town on police business. I want to get you over to our Sean Gallagher here once again in the neighborhood watching this scene. And Sean, you mentioned that within the hour as you've been watching, large areas blocked off with yellow police tape, and now we're seeing this red police tape pop up. Can you confirm from anyone there on the scene the significance of that?
Yeah, I'll tell you, of all the scenes that we go to, officer involved or not, a lot of the scenes that have this red tape pop up, it is usually a grim circumstance, usually a very serious investigation that is going on. And that's not just shooting situations. I've been to car crashes, things of that nature, fires, where the investigation will require the red tape. But here you can see there are a lot of officers that are now across the street from the home that we've been looking at. And again, there is a lot of officers still here, but nothing like it was about an hour ago. There were well over a dozen squad cars that I could see just from the corner of 12th and Dakota here. That presence has diminished, although there are still a number of officers here. Now, right here at 12th and Dakota, they are looking at a home that's between Dakota and Manitoba, but like you said, Vince, 11th, 12th, and 13th, between at least Dakota and Manitoba, I've seen police have had this taped off, including the alleys. They don't want anyone to be able to get somewhere in between so that you can see what's going on in between the homes here or anything like that as they continue to investigate this case.
All right, Sean, it's 11:23 here on today's TMJ4. Folks who have been following us, if you could give us a moment here and really listen, we do want to pass along this breaking news that not only Milwaukee Alderman Bob Donovan, but multiple sources now indicating to today's TMJ4 that, in fact, the police officer who was shot has indeed died.
And as we continue to gather more information about this tragic case, we do want to share thoughts and prayers. North Shore Fire and Rescue sharing their thoughts here. As you can see, our thoughts and prayers go to Milwaukee Police Department as they mourn the loss of another officer. And that sad sign with the badge and the black band around it becoming a symbol of a police department in mourning, and North Shore Fire sharing that sad thought with the community this morning. This information just coming into our newsroom right now.
We've been trying to scour social media ourselves out here on the desk as we've been taking you through this breaking news coverage. I am told that many other law enforcement sources on social media are also going with the black band over the badge. We have multiple sources confirming to us here at today's TMJ4 that the officer who was shot earlier this morning has in fact died. We expect that information to be made official at that news conference at the top of the hour.
And the information we do know about the officer was taken to Frederick Hospital at about 9:30, 10 o'clock this morning, suffering from a gunshot wound. We learned the officer is in the neighborhood of 30 years old. And we have just learned from multiple sources, as well as Alderman Bob Donovan from Milwaukee South Side, that the officer has died. Let's go out live now to our Mary Jo Ola with the information that she has been able to learn. Mary Jo?
Hey guys, yeah, we are now at 11th and Oklahoma. From where we're standing, no signs that police are leaving anytime soon. The area surrounding 12th and Dakota here definitely blocked off to traffic. I did talk with one woman who says she was shoveling this morning around 9:30 or so when she just saw lights speeding down, police. She says she saw ATF. And she knew at that moment when she saw all the law enforcement speeding through her neighborhood that something was seriously wrong. So from her perspective, she's been here for about 7 years. It's usually a pretty good area, not a whole lot of issues, but she said seeing this is definitely concerning to her and her husband. As you mentioned, we did hear from Alderman Bob Donovan, who was just stopping by the scene here to offer his support. He was obviously he got a little emotional when he was talking about the circumstances, mentioning that, you know, police, as cliche as it may sound, and these are his words, that they do put their lives on the line, and when you have a situation like this, it just really puts things into perspective and shows you how true that saying is. So that's a scene here at 11th in Oklahoma. I will say we've also seen parents and their kids walking in and out of Zablocki Elementary here, that no one really wanting to stop and talk, just trying to get their kids where they need to go and also to get to work.
All right, Mary Jo Ola reporting live for us there from Milwaukee's South Side. And Alderman Bob Donovan, she referred to the interview with him earlier. He also said we as a community need to rally around our officers. Certainly thoughts and prayers pouring in from departments throughout southeast Wisconsin this morning.
Well, let's back up here and think about what's happening as we come up on 11:27 here on today's TMJ4. We went in the city of Milwaukee more than 20 years without a Milwaukee police officer having been killed in the line of duty. More than 2 decades. And then in 2018, we had 2 officers killed in the line of duty. Now this makes the 3rd in less than 1 year. You had Charles Irvine Jr., who was killed in a crash during a chase back in June, and then Officer Michael Michalski, who was shot and killed in a situation perhaps not terribly unlike this one.
They were arresting a man on a warrant, and those 2 officers were killed within 6 weeks or so of each other. Last summer, Officer Irvine was killed on June 7th, and then Officer Michael Michalski died on July 25th. We are awaiting a news conference at Frederick Hospital where law enforcement will be updating the media on what happened. Our Pete Zervakis is there now and joins us live. Pete?
Well, Susan, you're taking a live look. If you see straight in front of me from where we're standing at 87th in Wisconsin, you see the latest in what's been a lot of Milwaukee police squad cars that continue to arrive here at Fredert. It was earlier this morning when the hospital did confirm to us that the officer who was shot today was brought here, was inside the hospital with a gunshot wound. Of course, we have all been waiting to hear what MPD is going to say at that noon news conference. I heard you guys reporting that we had sources confirming this officer has passed away. You can see squad cars kind of to my left next to the cancer center where that noon news conference is going to be, lining up there, parking there. Of course, when Officer Michalski was killed, I remember I was working night that night, and he was eventually escorted from Fredert to the ME's office downtown. The officers brought him. It's a procession that they do. They close the exits of the interstate. What we're seeing right now in terms of the way the squad cars are lining up here is a very similar scene to what it looked like before that procession back over the summer. So kind of a somber mood here at Fredert. Of course, we're still waiting to hear from MPD. The last official update we had from the hospital itself was that the officer was here. They confirmed with us that he had been brought in with a gunshot wound, and now at noon we expect a press conference in that large cancer center building that's straight ahead from where we're standing at 87th and Wisconsin, and we're going to likely continue to see more and more squad cars arriving here at the hospital ahead of that update. Vincent, Susan.
All right, Pete Servakis reporting live for us at Fredert Hospital, which, to Pete's point, sadly, we have become too familiar with how this is going to play out because of recent events. We were talking about the two officers who were killed this past summer in the line of duty with Milwaukee police, and prior to that, some 20 years before that had happened.
Right, prior to that, it was 1996, and then Milwaukee police tragically saw two officers killed this past summer within 6 weeks of each other, and now a third here today. From the information that we have gathered from our sources and from Alderman Bob Donovan, who says that the officer shot has died. We first learned of this shooting this morning at about 9:30. As we continue to take a live look right now, this is the South Side neighborhood where we believe the shooting occurred. You can see the area cordoned off with law enforcement. They're still on the scene.
We're also hearing from more law enforcement agencies that are posting their support for Milwaukee Police. River Hills Police Department badge, a Milwaukee Police badge with a black band over it, posting to, I believe it's Facebook. Our thoughts and prayers are with Milwaukee Police Department and with the officer's friends and family. Another officer senselessly lost. Walworth County Sheriff's Office. Our thoughts and prayers go out to the Milwaukee Police Department family on the line of duty death this morning. Brown Deer Police. Same thing, the badge and the black band covering the badge, signifying a lost officer.
And also Waukesha County Sheriff's Department, the departments and law enforcement throughout the state sharing their condolences. Our Elise Preston joins us now with more on what she's been able to gather. Elise?
Yeah, such a heartbreaking story right now. We do know, according to past protocol now, that officer will not be alone. His body will be taken from the from the hospital in a procession down to the medical examiner's office, and then at some point today from the medical examiner's office until the funeral home. And it will stay there until the family decides when they want to host the funeral for this officer, who is in possibly around their 30s. Someone will be with him at all times, which I think is just such an incredible thing when you think about it. And again, this is the third time that we have done this in the last 8 months. It was Officer Charles Irvine Jr. was killed June 7th. His squad car crashed during a police chase. Irvine was just 23 years old, and 7 weeks later, on July 25th, Officer Michael Michalski died in a shootout with a wanted suspect. Officer Michalski was a 17-year veteran with the MPD. So this is, again, the third time in just a matter of months that Milwaukee police will have to say goodbye to one of their own shot and killed in the line of duty.
Yeah, at least I can't remember the name of the group, but there is a group of police officers, voluntary, where they all commit to being on call for exactly this type of thing, to do what you're talking about, to always be with an officer who's fallen.
Yeah, and we saw this again, or we saw this before with Officer Michalski. Vince, we were right here on this desk during that funeral, and there were officers from all over, and not just in southeast Wisconsin, not just in Wisconsin, but there were officers from all over the country who came there to show their support just so that officer would not be alone.
And I think sadly, too, I mean, I've covered the death of an officer on the job. And when you go to the funeral, it is amazing the outpouring of support from law enforcement from around the country, where everyone sends somebody to represent their department and their community to share their thoughts and prayers with Milwaukee, whatever department has lost that officer. So certainly can appreciate the thought and the strength that provides for the local community.
And not just police officers, but community members, people who this officer served for. We're not sure exactly who that officer is at the moment. We're not sure how long he served our community, but a lot of people already expressing their condolences, and they are not members of law enforcement, just people who are touched by his life and his legacy.
Yeah, I appreciate that information, Elise. Thanks very much. We continue to look at the scene here on the south side of Milwaukee as you see law enforcement gathered and streets cordoned off as the the scene starts to clear. Alderman Bob Donovan and several sources telling today's TMJ4 that the officer shot there on the city's south side has died. We are standing by for a news conference here at noon, and that will happen at Frederick Hospital.
It's 11:34 on today's TMJ4. We continue our breaking news coverage. We want to bring in our Charles Benson, who's been in contact with a number of sources, including, Charles, I understand you talked with Alderman Tony Zielinski not long ago.
In fact, we're going to be joined on the phone right now by Alderman Zielinski. This is his district where this shooting has taken place. Alderman Zielinski, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Charles.
All right. I know that you're on your way to the hospital for this news briefing. What can you tell us at this time about what you know?
I know that an officer was shot in the line of duty, executing a search warrant with a number of other police officers. There's a press conference, as everyone knows, scheduled for noon today. I'm about to pull into the parking structure, and I'll let the police reveal the specific details, but I'm here to show my support. This unfortunately happened in my district. It's unfortunate that we had another fallen police officer in Milwaukee, and we'll just get more information, and we're going to do whatever we can.
Alderman, how did you learn about this particular situation, and what do you know about that particular area that this shooting occurred?
Well, actually, I read it online, and I contacted my assistant to get some information, to get more details, and then I got a phone call from the chief of staff of the police chief, letting me know about the press conference at noon today at Frederick Hospital.
Can you give me your sense here about the challenges facing law enforcement given this high-profile situation? Another officer shot. There has been reporting, and we are hearing from other aldermen that this officer has passed. You're concerned about the challenges that the Milwaukee Police Department faces every day, and now the potential here for another loss of life.
Yes, I mean, I think this dramatizes, the risk of life that these officers have to undergo every day to protect people in this community, to make them feel safe. I mean, my understanding is this officer was involved with a number of other officers in executing a search warrant, and we saw what happened. It's a very dangerous job, and I think that we really need to appreciate the sacrifices that they make to protect people in this community, and anything and everything that we can do to support the police department and the officers that are there for ourselves and our families, we should extend that support.
Alderman Zielinski, this is Susan Kim. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm curious as to what you will tell the residents in your district about what happened, because they may have concerns for their safety. They may wonder, what do I do? What is your message for your district?
Well, once I get the specific information during and after the press conference, then I'll outreach to the residents specifically in that particular area, to allay any concerns that they may have, let them know what's going on in that area and what steps the police department is taking and that the city is taking to help ensure their security.
Alderman Vince Vetrano here. Again, our thanks for being with us here in this difficult time for the city. It occurs to me, you've been involved in some Southside crime initiatives, Operation Impact, other things going on in this neighborhood. I have to think and feel like a setback for the residents because they are engaged in taking steps to try to make their streets safer in this neighborhood and several others right around there, Alderman Donovan's district as well. I have to think it's going to be particularly heartbreaking for those who are working so hard to keep these neighborhoods safe. No doubt. This is a major setback for that neighborhood, for our police department, and for our community as a whole. And I think that we just have to redouble our efforts and do what we can to support the police department. I think that, you know, they need more resources. They need more personnel. It's a very difficult job. And it's just, you know, very unfortunate that this happened. And we just have to get all the information and do what we can to support the family, support the police department, and then be aggressive and proactive in terms of working with the community to help provide for their protection and security. We are joined by Alderman Tony Zielinski. This is his district where this officer shooting took place this morning. He is on his way to the news conference with police and other city officials. Alderman, we appreciate during this difficult time that you're taking some time to talk to us about this situation. We will continue to talk with you down the road here as we learn more details from the Milwaukee Police Department. But again, thank you for your time. Okay, thank you.
And the alderman making reference to being on his way to Fredert, and that is because there is a 12 o'clock news conference there with Milwaukee Police where we will learn more about what happened and and learn about the officer's status. Multiple sources have told today's TMJ4, as well as Alderman Bob Donovan, that the officer who was shot on the south side this morning has now died. So it's a very, very sad situation and a sad time for the city of Milwaukee and the Milwaukee Police Department as officers cope with this information.
We've been talking about the neighborhood. Let's get back to our Katie Crowther. Katie, you've been there for about an hour and a half, 2 hours since this incident occurred, and you were telling us about the neighbors and the concerned people coming up to you, wanting information, sad about what had happened, wanting to know what was going on in their neighborhood.
Yeah, Vince, and this is exactly what they dreaded hearing. I mean, these people, this tight-knit community, as soon as they saw something, the huge police presence in their area this morning, they were immediately concerned. They wanted to know more. They were asking questions. Obviously, as the investigation unfolded, at first we didn't have many answers, but they would share their thoughts that, you know, they're going to pray. They're going to send all their positive energy to this officer because they hate to hear of something like this happening in their own area. And this is an area where neighbors really do look out for each other. South Side, a lot of longtime homeowners who've lived in this area for years and years, and also very close relationships with police in this area. So this is exactly what they did not want to hear, that Alderman Donovan has confirmed that the police officer has died. This is the last thing they wanted to find out about the police officer they were praying for. They have been still coming up to me wondering what's next, why are police still out here, because many people still cannot return to their homes. People who are not home when this happened are still, this area is blocked off. You can see the crime tape all around. It's still going to be many hours. So there are still a lot of homeowners in this area who cannot return home. That is also a challenge for many families. The area, too, traffic-wise, a lot of streets blocked off. So, people still should continue to avoid this area. Right now I'm at 12th in Oklahoma. It happened about a block away near 12th in Dakota. You can see, if you can, it's in the distance, but there are still investigators. When we first got out here, it was so many MPD squad cars, but as we've been hearing from Pete Zervakis at Fredert Hospital, a lot of those MPD squad cars have moved to Fredert, where that officer is who was shot. So now it's mainly more investigators. I'm seeing people from the State Department of Justice. I'm seeing some federal investigators, some MPD investigators. So obviously, it's still a very active scene. Just a few blocks away at 10th in Oklahoma, I can see where people are still gathered too. That is where, some of the people got ready for a media briefing that then was switched to be in a little bit at Fredert. But some of the aldermen talked there. Alderman Donovan also saying that he believes the officer was serving a search warrant with other officers at a house where the crime did then happen. A suspect is in custody. We also saw Mayor Tom Barrett out here. We saw Alderman Bukowski. So a lot of city leaders also coming out here before they even knew what happened, just to, show their support, show their concern. We will continue to bring you the live and the latest out here. But for now, I'm going to send it back to you guys because really we are just waiting to find out more.
All right, our Katie Crowther live on the scene there on the south side, bringing us up to date as to what she is seeing there in light of reports that the officer who was shot, we believe serving a warrant there on the south side earlier this morning, has died. That report coming to us from Alderman Bob Donovan, as well as multiple sources to today's TMJ4. And I am continuing to see multiple police departments throughout Wisconsin sharing their thoughts and prayers with the Milwaukee Police Department. The Muskego Police Department posting on social media as well that our thoughts and prayers go out to all members and family members of the Milwaukee Police Department. We're also seeing thoughts and prayers from UWM Police, Kenosha County Sheriff's Department, the town of Oconomowoc Police Department, writing our thoughts and prayers go out to the Milwaukee Police Department. So numerous agencies already sharing their thoughts with the public this morning.
We heard from Alderman Tony Zielinski, whose district, this is in the western part of his district. Bordering this district is Alderman Bob Donovan, and he was one of several sources who indicated to us that the officer had died within the last half hour or so, in terms of our knowledge of that. Let's hear from Alderman Donovan when he shared that news with us.
Certainly, I'm here to show my support for this officer's family and to the entire family of the Milwaukee Police Department. This has been an incredibly difficult year for the department. Now the third officer that has lost his life in the service of Milwaukee. So it's a sad day for this community.
So you can confirm that he's passed away at this point?
That's my understanding, yes.
And just when I saw you, the first thing you said was, I can't believe this is happening again.
Yeah, I can't believe it. But this will give you an indication of how challenging this work is. And how we as a community need to rally behind our officers to ensure that they have the support and the backing that they deserve. And it just goes to show that people are, these officers put their, it's almost a cliche, putting their life on the line, but this is obviously not a cliche when things like this occur.
City of Milwaukee Alderman Bob Donovan, a member of the Public Safety Committee, has a lot of relationships, close relationships with the men and women of law enforcement in the Milwaukee Police Department.
And this is one of the emotional pictures that we have been gathering from the location, as well as we continue to bring you this breaking news of a report that a Milwaukee police officer has died while on the job this morning, apparently serving some sort of warrant on Milwaukee's south side. And you heard the alderman there referring to the third time, and that's in reference to, you may remember last summer, 2 Milwaukee police officers died in the line of duty within about 6 or 7 weeks of each other. The first being on June 7th with police officer Charles Irvine Jr., and then on July 25th with police officer Michael Mahalski, both dying in the line of duty last summer. And then now today we are learning of another officer who has been shot and has died. We are standing by for a news conference with Milwaukee Police. They have not made any sort of on-camera comments yet about what happened. They have made some comments on social media, but we are waiting for this news conference where we can learn some more information about what happened.
That news conference expected to take place at Frederick Hospital, where the injured officer at the time was rushed earlier this morning. Let's check in with our Pete Servakis as that scene continues to grow. Pete?
Well, Vince, yeah, if you see, we're standing near 87th in Wisconsin, near Frederick. We want to stress that this is a location where we've been all morning, and they have told us that we are okay to stand here. The hospital cleared us to stand here. We're trying, of course, not to get in the way on what's a very hectic day, not only for Freighter, but of course, more importantly, for MPD. And over the last hour or so, we've really started to see a lot of MPD squad cars arriving here. They've been lining up on the street that's directly in front of us. I think that's Doyne, that goes right in front of the Cancer Center, parking on that street. And in that big building, the gray Cancer Center with the windows on the front of it, that's where at noon MPD is expected to make its first official comments on the shooting that happened on the south side this morning. Of course, we have been reporting from several sources, including Alderman Donovan, that an officer was killed in that shooting, but we're still waiting to hear from the department itself. I mentioned this briefly earlier, and I know, Vince, you elaborated on it, but the process when this usually happens, from the 2 officer deaths that we saw over the summer, is that police squads will escort the fallen officer's body from Freighter to the medical examiner's office in downtown Milwaukee. And again, just that scene, the scene you're looking at here outside of Freighter, with the squads lined up outside of the hospital, an all too familiar scene, unfortunately. And it looks like, of course, they're preparing that after that media briefing sometime this afternoon, we could see that procession. They'll come right past where we're standing at 87th and Wisconsin. They'll hang a left on Wisconsin and then take 84th down to the interstate into downtown. So we're going to stay here like everyone else and await this media briefing at noon. Vincent, Susan.
All right, Pete Zervakis, live for us at Freighter Hospital, and we have been telling you that we're expecting this news conference as we look at an emotional picture there where you see officers together with their heads bowed. We are waiting for a news conference that was scheduled to start at noon. It has been pushed back again. Latest reports now that it'll be at about 12:30, 12:45 or so.
Hearing that from the mayor's office. We did see Milwaukee Mayor Tom Barrett on scene near 12th and Dakota earlier this morning. We believe the mayor has since left that scene, and everyone who's going to be a part of the news event later is gathering at Freighter Hospital for that update.
Again, we're bringing you live pictures of our breaking news right now, and this is the area on Milwaukee's south side around 12th and Dakota, where the first reports came into our newsroom at about 9:30 this morning, where neighbors had reported shots fired and then that they were seeing a heavy police presence in that area. And you can see law enforcement, they're still on the scene, area cordoned off. That neighborhood obviously will be difficult for people who live there perhaps to get back home if they're trying to get there in the next short while, but it has started to wrap up in the last hour or so.
Suspect in custody. That's been the case to our knowledge since we began reporting on this. We were told that by multiple sources, and MPD confirming that there's no threat to the neighborhood at the moment. So that is the good news, at least as far as those neighbors are concerned who are near this scene. But we don't know anything about the suspect. Don't know anything about, other than being told from multiple sources that the officer who's died was there executing some sort of warrant. We don't know anything about the suspect who was arrested in connection with that shooting.
So we are going to stay with you here live with breaking news information as we get it into our newsroom until at least that news conference, where we want to bring you that information from Milwaukee Police as they share what happened this morning with the community. And in the meantime, we are sharing with you so many reports of different departments as news gets out about what happened, and they are sharing their condolences. I thought this Racine Police Department post was very touching. The sworn members of the Racine Police Department joined the MPD and the broader law enforcement community in mourning a third line of duty death of a Milwaukee Police Department officer. Our thoughts, prayers and condolences go out to our fallen brother, his immediate family, and the entire MPD family at this difficult time. Godspeed to our brother who gave his life in service to others. Your honorable service and sacrifice will never be forgotten.
You know, we're also hearing from the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, federal agency, and you may see, if we run video or take some other live pictures here, may see some of those agents on scene. You can see them wearing the ATF jackets. What we're hearing from ATF is what was posted on their Twitter page, saying ATF assisting Milwaukee police in a critical incident on Milwaukee's south side. News conference. At the time this was posted, they said at 12 p.m. Again, we expect that to be later now, but then directing people to follow Milwaukee police for further updates. It's not clear whether ATF is somehow going to be an investigating agency here into what happened, or if ATF might have been involved in the initial incident to begin with. You know, if MPD can offer to assist ATF or be part of that if that's a warrant that's being served. So could have been a joint operation of some kind. So we do know that ATF is involved and is assisting, but we don't know in what manner.
We are continuing to bring you live coverage now of the shooting death of a Milwaukee police officer, and this is a live picture from the south side. Our Sean Gallagher joins us live now with more information about what happened. Sean?
Yeah, Susan and Vince, I know that we've been talking about this has become an all too familiar scene, but it is feeling eerily similar to the investigation into Officer Michalski's death, now especially knowing that this officer has died as well. Now, I know we covered that on Daybreak the day after because it had happened after our shift had ended, but police were on scene for that investigation for well over 24 hours. So we've been talking all morning about that. If these folks that live in these houses are having trouble getting back in or getting out, that may continue for quite some time. I know we spoke with a number of people around where Officer Michalski was killed, and they had trouble getting to work. Some had to skip work that day because the investigation continued and they weren't allowed to get their cars out or anything like that. And again, they have many streets still blocked off, 11th, 12th, 13th, between Dakota and at least Manitoba, maybe all the way up to Oklahoma. I can't really see that far. All of those are blocked off right now as they continue this investigation, alleys included. And of course, probably about a half hour, 45 minutes ago was when we noticed they put this red tape up, and we now know why. This is a very serious investigation now that another officer in Milwaukee Police has been killed.
All right, that's our Sean Gallagher reporting to us from the scene. Sean, appreciate that update and the perspective as well. You heard Sean mention the shooting death of Officer Michael Michalski from this summer. We were also talking about Officer Charles Irvine Jr., who was killed in a crash in the line of duty earlier in 2018 in June. And just remarkable, and you heard the both aldermen with whom we spoke reference that as well. You went 2 decades without an on-duty death for the Milwaukee Police Department, some 22 years, and now we've had 3 officers killed in the line of duty inside of a year.
All right, and you heard Vince mention the tweet from ATF. Here it is. We wanted to read it to you. Breaking: ATF St. Paul assisting Milwaukee police in a critical incident on Milwaukee's south side. Press conference expected at 12 p.m. Please follow Milwaukee Police for further updates. Now, since that tweet was posted just 14 minutes ago, we have learned that that news conference is going to be later than 12 o'clock, but we, of course, are here to bring that to you, to share the information with you when it does happen. It's now 11:55. You are watching breaking news here on today's TMJ4. This is Susan Kim alongside Vince Vitrano as we stay on top of a report that a Milwaukee police officer has been shot and killed on duty on Milwaukee's south side.
We have our entire reporter team working on this story. We're going to check in now with our Lauren Winfrey. Lauren, what have you learned?
Susan and Vince, just if you kind of think about what the Milwaukee Police Department is going through right now, it must be just a very tough time for them, and also the city and also other law enforcement officers who have been sending their prayers and their thoughts. Right now we're at Frater Hospital, and there was a press conference expected for noon. That's been pushed back a bit, so we're just kind of here waiting for things to get underway. A number of people from the media are here. I did also see Mayor Barrett is here as well, so we are just kind of waiting it out. We're going to be here all throughout the day, and we'll have more information to give to you guys as things get going here. But for now, reporting live at Frater, Lauren Winfrey, today's TMJ4.
All right, Lauren, thanks very much. And Lauren Winfrey standing by at Frater Hospital with the information about the news conference. And as Lauren was on the air, we learned that the news conference has been moved back once again.
As we come up on the noon hour, we want to get you some new video just into our newsroom here. This is well, let me see. Can we have a look? Right, okay, this was what I thought. Sean Gallagher was on his way to the scene on the south side and witnessed this, and it is what we presume to be the injured officer in that Milwaukee Fire Department ambulance. Sean had detailed how it was being escorted by police squads, presumably on its way to Frater Hospital earlier this morning.
Yeah, Sean was on another story when he noticed just a lot of police activity occurring all of a sudden and saw this ambulance going and just putting pieces together as we've learned now what has happened to the Milwaukee police officer who was shot on the city's south side. As for this news conference, it's been rescheduled now for 1:30 this afternoon, so another hour and a half from now is when we are expecting an official update from Milwaukee police about the shooting that occurred. We believe it happened at about 9:30 this morning on Milwaukee's south side, based on our reports and our reporting from our reporters and source information that we have received. This is a live picture from the neighborhood that we're talking about at 12th and Dakota, and you can see law enforcement there still on the scene.
Getting more and more local law enforcement agencies, as well as first responders, firefighters, fire departments offering their thoughts and support for Milwaukee police. Mequon Fire Department, our hearts are heavy, our hearts are broken, but your strength is resilient. Thoughts, prayers, and strength are with the Milwaukee Police Department and the family of the fallen officer. And this from Kenosha Police. Our thoughts and prayers are with the Milwaukee Police Department. Please keep the officer, their family, and MPD in your thoughts and prayers.
So right now at 11:58, we want to bring you up to date with where we are in the case of the Milwaukee police officer who has been shot and killed, according to Alderman Bob Donovan. And we do have a timeline that we want to share with you about what happened. Milwaukee police have had 2 officer deaths in the last 8 months, 2 of those last summer, and then a third would be today. Saw Officer Charles Irvine Jr. was killed on June 7th. His squad car crashed during a police chase, and he was 23 years old.
And then 7 weeks later, July 25th, Officer Michael Michalski, seen here in this picture. He was killed in a shootout with a wanted suspect. Officer Michalski, a 17-year veteran with MPD. And again, those 2 officers, the first 2 to die in more than 2 decades in the line of duty with Milwaukee police. It was 22 years in between the first, in between that most recent death, Officer Irvine. And now we've had 3 just in the last year.
Let's go to our Adriana Mendez, who is there at the scene on the south side. Adriana?
Yeah, so I'm standing near 13th and Manitoba, and the residents that are around here are just distraught and heartbroken after learning an MPD officer has died in the line of duty. I spoke with a resident who lives just a few houses away from where this shooting happened. His name is Anthony, and he says earlier this morning he heard multiple shots fired, and he feared the worst, and just moments ago the worst was confirmed for him. So he says his thoughts and prayers are with Milwaukee police tonight as they're dealing with this difficult news after learning an MPD officer was shot and killed in the line of duty. He said we need to wrap our arms around the police department and the community during this difficult time, because dealing with another officer shot in the line of duty within the last year is just heartbreaking and difficult to deal with.
Well, I was just waking up inside my house and I heard a couple gunshots real fast. And as far as gunshots, that's basically what I heard. And then I heard like a little bit of yelling, you know, and it's like, well, it sounded like gunshots, you know, and basically within a couple minutes I heard sirens, so I'm like, yeah, something happened, you know, and I looked out the window, you know, probably about 10-15 minutes later, and there was yellow tape in the alley. And basically, you know, I looked it up online and found out what happened.
When you heard what happened, that officer did not make it. What were your thoughts, your reaction?
It's sad. It's sad. My uncle was a police officer for many years, you know, and that's, you know, it's scary. They help people, you know. And I feel bad what happened, you know, and I feel sorry for the officer and his family.
And as Anthony mentioned, his uncle was a police officer, so this really hits home for him. Once again, he said we just need to wrap our arms around MPD and our community and support them as they're dealing through this extremely difficult time. Back to you guys in the studio.
All right, that's our Adriana Mendez reporting live from the scene on Milwaukee's south side. Right now it is noon on Wednesday, and you're normally watching live at noon right now.
Alongside Susan Kim, I'm Vince Vitrano. We've been on the air with you since about 9:45 this morning, reporting on this breaking news that a Milwaukee police officer was shot and killed earlier this morning. Our timeline suggesting it was about 9:30, and then the large response about 9:45 this morning. We're looking at a live picture here inside Fredert Hospital. The injured officer was rushed to Fredert, a level 1 trauma care center there. Obviously severely injured. They could have taken him to St. Luke's, which is about a mile away from where this happened, but was so severely injured. We assume that's why he ended up at Fredert. And again, that officer did not survive. We anticipate a news conference in that location about an hour and a half from now.
Let's go to our Katie Crowther now, who remains in the neighborhood. Katie?
Yeah, Susan and Vince, I'm going to stay out of the shot because I really want all of you at home to be able to see exactly what's happening in this neighborhood where the crime happened. I'm a few blocks from where we just heard from Adriana Mendez, also not far from Sean Gallagher. I am at 12th in Oklahoma, kind of about a block away from where the crime happened and where a suspect shot and Alderman Donovan confirms killed a Milwaukee police officer who we're hearing is in his 30s. We were told by Alderman Donovan that the officer was among others with the Milwaukee Police Department and ATF who were executing a warrant at a home. When we first arrived on the scene around 9:45, 10 a.m. this morning, a ton of squad cars here, a lot of officers and ATF agents in the street outside of a home near the corner of 12th and Dakota. Now, much of that police presence, as far as Milwaukee police officers go, much of that police presence has left the area. I'm told a lot of them have gone to Fredert Hospital where their fellow officer is. Right now it's more investigators. We have State Department of Justice here. We have some federal investigators here. So we're waiting to find out. We're hoping one of them in the next few hours will come and talk to us, update us on the scene here in the neighborhood. As far as this neighborhood, let me tell you a little bit about it. South Side, a lot of these residents have been here for years. A lot of them 20, 30 years have lived in this area. There are some renters, though, obviously, as well, some duplexes. They're just shocked that I was told by a witness that he heard 2 rounds, so 2 gunshots, but he didn't know where they were coming from, and he was obviously alarmed. But a lot of people didn't see it happen, at least the people I've talked to. But they heard about it, and now, the whole area was just torn up about it all morning because they wanted to know how the officer was doing. They were praying, they were sending positive thoughts, they were asking what they could do. And now they're getting word, at least from an alderman in their area, that this officer has died. So as you can imagine, very somber out here. People are looking out their windows. People are gathering at street corners or in their houses, glued to what's happening and just feeling awful that this officer lost his life in their area. So I will continue to stay out here and bring you more. That's about all we have for now. I will say most of these streets are near 12th and Dakota, 12th in Oklahoma, 11th, 10th in Oklahoma are still totally blocked off. So if you are, coming to this area in the next few hours, I would try and avoid it because a lot of the roads are closed. Traffic is being diverted in some cases. So just be mindful of that. Vincent, Susan.
All right, Katie Crowther reporting live for us on Milwaukee's South Side in the area of 12th and Dakota. And as she mentioned, several square blocks in that neighborhood are blocked off because of the ongoing investigation.
As we process this news, once again at 6 minutes after the noon hour, I'm just kind of putting together the usual questions that we would hope to have to some extent answered at the news conference as we come up on that. What was the situation that the officer was in? What do we know about the police officer? How long was he on the force? Does he have a family? That obviously a primary concern. What is his family situation? And for those who will mourn that officer. What about the suspect? Did any officers on scene return fire? You heard Katie talking about how many shots neighbors heard reported or thought they had heard. What was that engagement like? Why were they there in the first place? We're hearing he was serving some kind of warrant. So all of those questions are things that we hope to have cleared up at the news conference when we get to it in a little more than an hour and a half.
And as we look at this live picture, we have been sharing with you some of the emotional moments that were captured by photos. And I think that that one photo there with the officers gathered, about a dozen of them gathered with their arms around each other and their heads bowed, just kind of gets you in the gut, because it shows you just how powerful and how just tragic this event is for the Milwaukee Police Department and for the law enforcement community as a whole. Our Sean Gallagher is also on the south side and joins us live now. Sean?
Yeah, Susan, we are here at 12th and Dakota, where we've been all morning, and things are really settling down here from a police standpoint, but the roads are all blocked off, and like I've said earlier today, this is drawing similar comparisons to the Officer Michael Michalski investigation after he was killed. They have this entire area cordoned off. They do not want anyone in here so that they can make sure that they investigate this thoroughly after a loss of one of their own. Now, about an hour ago, we saw that they put up this the red tape in front of a home out here. That's usually a sign of something bad, and we've learned obviously that that officer has been killed, so that's an indication of why they have that red tape up. Now, looking back, when we were coming back to the station earlier today, around 9:30 or so, we saw a motorcade of sorts escorting an ambulance. As Vince was saying, seems like they were taking that ambulance to Fredert Level 1 Trauma Center, and just something I've never seen before, having two officers escort an ambulance like that around that time of day in front of the Mitchell Park domes. Everybody usually gets out of the way for ambulances, but these officers obviously taking extra precaution and trying to get that ambulance there as quickly as they could on this dark day for MPD.
And Sean, while we have you, let's talk a little bit about what sadly we all experienced as a community over the summer in 2 officer deaths in MPD. You kind of alluded to the procession that will be taking place probably at some point later today when this fallen officer's body is taken to the medical examiner's office first, and then at some point from there to a funeral home. As we witnessed in those days this summer, that is a big to-do. There are a lot of squads that are involved in that, and there can be a disruption to traffic and people's lives in that short period.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct, Vince. I know when we were covering that event, when they go by District 1, it is absolutely breathtaking to witness. It's a very somber moment and very intense emotionally, not just for the officers, but the people in the community as well, understanding that one of these people, in the line of duty, protecting and serving the community, losing their life, not something anybody wants to see. But when that happens, you just want to get out of the way, let the officers do what's right and honor this fallen officer and just allow the procession to take place. And again, back in this area too, around 12th and Dakota, 11th, 12th, 13th Street, between Dakota and Oklahoma. Again, like Katie said, an area that you'll want to avoid as well. Definitely going to be hard to get around in this area as they continue this investigation this morning.
And Sean, your word breathtaking when the procession passed District 1, it really encapsulates what happens, because you will often see hundreds of members of the community also line the procession location as they pay their respects to the fallen officer who has really given the ultimate sacrifice.
Yeah, it's really a sign of respect that you see from everybody in the community when they come out. I know that there are the community police relations that we've covered over the last 5 years, 10 years, but after situations like this, all of that goes out the window. Nobody thinks about that. Everybody feels for the Milwaukee Police Department when this happens. Unfortunately, this is the 3rd time in less than a year that we're having to sympathize with them after they lost one of their own. But when those things, when situations like this do happen, you really see the best in the community come out and support the people in the line of duty.
It's our Sean Gallagher reporting to us from the south side there, close to this scene this morning. And we've been sharing through the morning here as we try to take you up to the news conference. More and more local law enforcement agencies coming in to express their support. This from Muskego Police Department. Our thoughts and prayers go out to all members and family members of the Milwaukee Police Department.
And we are hearing from the Salvation Army of Waukesha County even saying a police officer has been shot and killed on duty this morning near 12th and Manitoba in Milwaukee. Please be mindful of the officer's family, relatives, and fellow officers on what will be remembered as a tragic and violent day in Milwaukee history.
About 12 minutes after the noon hour, we want to get to our Pete Servakis, who is at Fredert Hospital, where people have begun to gather. Pete, we know that law enforcement officers who are able to come down there have just been showing up to Fredert. You also have aldermen for the city of Milwaukee and any officials who are going to be part of the news conference later today beginning to arrive at the hospital. All right, we'll check in with our Pete Zervakis once again. He's been on that scene, but as you can imagine, it's fluid. Pete's trying to get a little bit more information for us about what is happening a little bit later, but we have seen them setting up for that news conference at Fredert. We do know the injured officer was taken to Fredert. They do have a level 1 trauma care center. You heard Sean Gallagher talk about that, but the officer ultimately did not survive that shooting from early this morning.
So this is, it's 12:12 right now, and you would normally be watching live at noon. However, we are continuing our breaking news coverage of the Milwaukee police officer shot and killed on Milwaukee's South Side. Our Mary Jo Ola is on the South Side now and joins us live now with what she's been able to learn. Mary Jo.
Hey guys, yeah, we are here near 11th and Oklahoma, and I know some of the guys here have been reporting that not just the streets but the alleys have been blocked off, and that's what you're seeing right now. This is an alleyway between 12th and 11th. You can see those lights that are flashing, and we've seen people having trouble coming in and out of their homes because this area is still blocked off to traffic. Outside of this alley near the perimeter of the scene that police have blocked off, I've had several people kind of just walking up to us and asking what's going on, people who don't exactly live in the neighborhood but just saw the police presence and knew by the size of it and by all the media that's out here that something terrible had happened. And so we've had a lot of people coming up asking questions, wanting to know if people are safe, how the officer is doing, and as soon as they find out what has transpired here, a lot of people have expressed a lot of shock and sadness that this is something they're seeing in their community here in Milwaukee. So since we've been here, police definitely still have 10th, 11th, and 12th blocked off here from Oklahoma. Traffic is still flowing pretty smoothly on Oklahoma. At the same time, we've also seen police officers trying to maintain the flow of traffic coming in and out. They've let some people walking up to their homes as far as they can go, but still doesn't look like they're going to be leaving this area anytime soon. We'll send it back to you guys.
All right, Mary Jo Ola reporting live for us there on Milwaukee's South Side as we continue to bring you live breaking news coverage of the report from Alderman Bob Donovan that the officer who was shot there on scene has died.
We can go ahead and reset what we know for you this morning as we come up on quarter after the noon hour. We know that the officer, told by multiple sources, was serving some kind of warrant on the South Side. Neighbors reported hearing multiple gunshots. You know, the officer was injured there badly enough to be taken to Fredert instead of a mile away to St. Luke's Hospital, and that officer ultimately did die. Multiple sources telling us that occurred earlier this morning. The shooting, we think about 9:30 a.m.
And after that happened, we were getting reports of shots being fired in that neighborhood, and so that was at about 9:30 as well. So we've been on the air live with you bringing this information, and right now we want to share with you condolences and reports from different law enforcement agencies really around the state as they share this, what has really become a universal sign of just tragedy within a police department. As you see the black band around a Milwaukee Police Department badge, we are seeing agencies throughout Wisconsin responding. This is just one of them that we continue to share with you. This is from UWM Police, and this is another one that we are sharing right now from the North Shore Fire Department. Departments sharing their condolences with Milwaukee Police on this really tragic day.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many of those that we've gotten into our newsroom, and it's all over social media as well. So if you log on to Facebook today, you check out your Twitter account or your Instagram, you are going to see a lot of that, and so much support, not only from the law enforcement family as they reach out to MPD, but also the comments then posted after all of that. Regular people, neighbors, communicating their condolences as well and trying to tell people in law enforcement how much they appreciate the work that they do. And again, the reminder today, sadly, that they do lay their lives on the line too often for people in the name of their protection.
And here's a post from the Racine County Sheriff's Office. Today, the Milwaukee Police Department suffered their third line of duty death in just 9 months. This officer left his family this morning to serve his community and made the ultimate sacrifice. The Racine County Sheriff's Office, along with the greater law enforcement community, send our sincere condolences to the Milwaukee Police Department, as well as the officers' family and friends. A pretty powerful message there shared from the Racine County Sheriff's Office this morning.
I want to share with you a little bit about our plans here on today's TMJ4. As Susan mentioned, we came on the air about 10 o'clock this morning as we were getting reports. What we had heard at the time was that an officer had been shot. But we came on just reporting at the time that it was an incident that MPD was investigating as we worked to confirm that information. We're going to stay with you at least through a news conference that is scheduled about 1:30 this afternoon, where we expect to hear from City of Milwaukee officials, Milwaukee Police Department, folks at Freighter about exactly what happened here. So we will take you through our regularly scheduled live at noon. And then for folks who are waiting for Days of Our Lives today, we are told that we will be able to air that at 2:07 this morning. Not that we expect you to stay up, but if you are a Days of Our Lives fan, go ahead and set your devices to record that, and we will air today's Days of Our Lives at that time. So we can continue with you here in this live coverage of this terrible tragedy, again, that is beset MPD.
And as we continue to share with you these live pictures from the neighborhood on Milwaukee's south side, you can see many areas still cordoned off, several square block area in that neighborhood you can't get to if you live there. So just be aware of that. The investigation continues, and I'm sure officers will wrap up as soon as they can, but in the meantime, do want to do a thorough job. Our Pete Zervakis is over at Freighter Hospital now and joins us live. And Pete, this is where the news conference is going to be happening at 1:30 at this point.
That's correct, Susan. You're looking at live pictures here outside of Freighter Hospital. The news conference was supposed to start at noon. It's been bumped back to 1:30. Of course, we all know the importance of when MPD is going to make an announcement, especially about a situation as serious as this. The fact that they need to really take their time and make sure that they have everything correct, that they know what they're going to roll out and tell us, because this is obviously such a sensitive situation with reports from, as we've mentioned, Alderman Donovan and also other sources that an officer was killed this morning. The big takeaway from what's going on here at Freighter, and we're pretty far back, we're standing near 87th in Wisconsin, is that over the last hour or so we've really seen the presence of Milwaukee police squad cars parked outside of the hospital growing. There's been more and more arriving. They've been parking on this street, which is technically, the name of that street is Doyne. It runs right in front of the Cancer Center. That Cancer Center is that large building with the windows on it. It says Cancer Center up at the top. In the lobby of that building is where the press briefing is going to be at 1:30. So we're going to stay here like everyone else. We're awaiting details from MPD, but somber scenes here at Freighter as we continue to see Milwaukee police squads arrive, continue to see more officers arrive here on the scene after these reports that one of the members of their department has been killed in the line of duty. Susan and Vince.
All right, Pete Zervakis live for us out at Freighter Hospital. Thanks so much, Pete. We appreciate the information.
Squads beginning to line up now.
This is what we're zooming in here, and you're seeing all those Milwaukee Police Department officers and squad vehicles. They're getting ready for the news conference, and perhaps, as we were mentioning, what is protocol or what normally happens in a tragic case like this when an officer loses his life in the line of duty.
This is just coming from the former governor of the state of Wisconsin. Tweet from Governor Walker here. Let me see if I can pull that up. This is from former Governor Walker's Twitter account. My heart goes out to the men and women of Milwaukee Police. It posted that just recently. In fact, there we have it for you on the screen. This from former Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker.
It's now 12:21 as we continue our breaking news coverage of the reported Milwaukee police officer who was shot and killed in the line of duty this morning. We believe it happened at about 9:30. Alderman for that area tell us that it appears the officer was helping to serve some sort of warrant at the time that shots were fired. In fact, we did interview Alderman Bob Donovan earlier, and here's what he told us.
Certainly, I'm here to show my support for this officer's family and to the entire family of the Milwaukee Police Department. This has been an incredibly difficult year for the department. Now the third officer that has lost his life in the service of Milwaukee. So it's a sad day for this community.
So you can confirm that he's passed away at this point?
That's my understanding, yes.
And just when I saw you, the first thing you said was like, I mean, I can't believe this is happening again.
Yeah, I can't believe it. But this will give you an indication of how challenging this work is. And how we as a community need to rally behind our officers to ensure that they have the support and the backing that they deserve. And it just goes to show that people are, these officers put their, it's almost a cliche, putting their life on the line, but this is obviously not a cliche when things like this occur. And it's just a sad day for Milwaukee. But I'm confident this department is resilient and will respond and continue to do the excellent job that they have over these many years.
There are few greater supporters of the Milwaukee Police Department than Alderman Bob Donovan, longtime Southside Alderman for the city of Milwaukee. A lot of close ties to law enforcement due to his time on the Public Safety Committee, currently the vice chair of that committee. Also was instrumental in starting up Operation Impact on the South Side. This isn't technically Alderman Donovan's district. I think it borders Donovan's district, does just to the north of this location. But South Side is South Side, and he's around these officers quite a bit. Started up Operation Impact with the help of others in the community, which was really a grassroots community policing operation to try to get neighbors directly involved with what was happening in their neighborhoods. They raised private money to get more businesses and even some neighbors to install security cameras in public areas so they could make the South Side more secure. So certainly the alderman has a lot of close ties in the law enforcement community here in Milwaukee.
Yeah, I mean, he's been the alderman for that community on the South Side, not this one in particular, but his community for decades. And so he knows the community well and he knows the people well. And he made reference to the third tragedy here. And of course, that is in reference to Officer Michael Michalski, who was killed back in July. And then earlier in the summer, 23-year-old Charles Irvine Jr. also killed in the line of duty. That happened on June 7th. So today's death would make the third officer killed with the Milwaukee Police Department in just 8 months or so. So you can understand the significance of that and also the tragedy of that. Let's go to our Adriana Mendez, who is on the scene there on the South Side. Adriana.
Yeah, so we're standing near 13th and Manitoba, and residents have been coming over to us just trying to find out more information as to what has happened here. And I tell you, it is just a somber mood here in this area. I spoke with residents here, and they are devastated to hear another Milwaukee police officer has been shot and killed, and they are shocked that this has happened right in their neighborhood. I spoke to a resident named Anthony who lives just a couple blocks away from where the shooting took place. He said he heard multiple shots this morning, and just by the amount of police presence, he knew something terrible had happened. Anthony said this hit so close to home for him because his uncle was a police officer, so he feels for what Milwaukee police are going through at this moment. But once again, the residents here are just shocked and saddened to hear that another Milwaukee police officer has lost their life in the line of duty. Anthony also said this is a time when we really need to stand behind our police officers, support them, and show them that we care for them and the work that they do to keep our community safe. So just a somber mood out here, and we're going to continue to speak to residents to just find out a little bit more information. But for now, back to you guys in the studio.
All right, Adriana, thanks very much for that perspective from the neighborhood there on the South Side. A look now at all the condolences that are coming in from so many law enforcement agencies across the state, and you can see them scrolling there on your screen.
And these are just the ones that we had an opportunity to put into our system. So you're going to see that when you log on to Facebook today, if you're on Twitter or Instagram, whatever your social media is, you're going to see these images and these messages of condolence popping up, and then other people offering theirs as well back to these law enforcement agencies. But the badge with the black band across it is popping up everywhere here on social media.
This tweet here from Milwaukee Fire Department reads, "Our thoughts and prayers go out to our brothers and sisters in blue. We are with you during this difficult time." And so not only law enforcement, obviously, but first responders and all sorts of different agencies making sure that the Milwaukee Police Department and its members know that the community is thinking of them and with them in this tragic time.
We're checking again back on the scene, 12th and Dakota this morning, just a little bit north of Oklahoma there on the south side. And while there is no danger to the public, Milwaukee police have told us the suspect is in custody and they are not concerned with people's safety in that neighborhood. There is still a very large area that is blocked off with a lot of investigation still going on. We'll check in with our Sean Gallagher. And Sean, I think it was really interesting. You were talking earlier about the death over the summer of Officer Michael Michalski that occurred, and just how long that neighborhood was disrupted because of the investigation in that case.
Yeah, that's right, Vince. I remember 2 days after Officer Michalski was killed, we were obviously covering that story still, and we were told, hey, we got to go drive by that scene even 2 days later to see if they are still out there. I remember how long it took. They did not stay out there for the full 2 days. We were able to move on to our story, which was actually at District 1, where they had a car there in memorial, which was just adorned with flowers and mementos for Officer Michalski. But a very long investigation nonetheless. I've started to see that there is at least one officer who is going door to door right now, knocking, trying to get a hold of people and do their due diligence in asking them questions about what they saw, what they heard, anything from what happened this morning. But this is just the early parts of the investigation. We've been out here for almost 2.5, 3 hours at this point, and it seems like there is a long way to go. There are ATF agents out here. There are Department of Justice investigators out here, and of course, many Milwaukee police officers as they cordon off this entire scene from 11th to 13th Street, Dakota to Oklahoma, everywhere, just making sure that nothing is tampered with so that they can complete this investigation after one of their own has been killed.
And at this point, Sean, I know you've been there for several hours now, but just for the homeowners in that area who may be wondering about maybe when they can go home, are you getting any sense that they are wrapping up their investigation anytime soon?
I don't get any indication that they are wrapping up their investigation at this point. Everything is pretty much the same from when we got here about 3 hours ago, with the exception of a lot fewer police vehicles. There were well over a dozen police cruisers here. When we first got here, there was that SWAT vehicle, if you remember, that was here as well. A lot of that has left, but the actual presence between 11th and 13th, Dakota to Oklahoma, is still very strong at this point. The tape is up. They also have the red tape up there right where this situation occurred. So it still appears, at least from my perspective, that this is very early in the investigation. So if you live in this area or if you work in this area, you're going to have a lot of difficulty trying to get into your home or out of your home as they continue this investigation.
I appreciate that perspective. Sean Gallagher there on the south side reporting for us, and we've been talking about the safety of the neighborhood. Classic Milwaukee south side neighborhood, houses very close to each other. Elementary school within walking distance of this location. Zablocki Elementary was for a while on lockdown, and then something that they called a code yellow, which meant no one could come or go from the building. And boy, as you can imagine, for some parents that was very unsettling.
The kids don't know what's going on. They just know that they're on lockdown. They have different codes that they say, so they're not like back and checked once they were on lockdown, and they said that the students are in their classrooms and back doing classwork.
As a mom, how scary is this for you?
It's really scary. That's why I've been here since since before all these officers were here, I was here. Like when I seen it happening, when I seen that, I parked immediately and I just stayed out here.
Are you going to take your kid out early?
No, I'm not going to go in there. And I feel like the school, that's probably the safest place for them right now, is to be inside the school on lockdown. And I know with lockdowns,
and they did lift it. So
they did lift it?
Yeah,
okay.
Yellow.
No, I think I'll leave them because I think they'll be more freaked out coming out, seeing all of this going on. And they'll be like, well, that's ruining my schedule, my daily schedule. So I don't want to do that to them.
You know, it's You know, it's interesting. Every mom knows their child and how they would handle a situation like this where it's a crisis situation. So we appreciate that mom sharing her thoughts with us. And certainly a frightening point of view there when you're hearing that your child's school is on lockdown. This is a live picture now from the neighborhood, and as Sean Gallagher was mentioning, a lot of law enforcement still on the scene, nowhere near wrapping up this investigation into what happened this morning. And we continue to bring you this breaking news here. Normally you would see live at 12 and 12:30, but we are in this breaking news situation where we are awaiting a news conference at 1:30 this afternoon.
And that's going to be out at Frederick Hospital, Frederick, the Medical College of Wisconsin, and we'll take you inside there. This picture outside, and if you look closely there, you can see a lot of Milwaukee police squads already arriving on scene. Our Lauren Winfrey is inside where that news conference is going to take place, we believe, within the hour, Lauren.
Expected to get a better idea of what led to all of this to begin with. And all I can really think about is the Milwaukee Police Department and the grief they must be experiencing right now to have 2 officers killed in the line of duty last year. And now we're just in the beginning of this year and a fallen officer. Again, it's hard to imagine. I mean, they're a team, and when something happens to your teammate, you can only imagine that kind of grief. But again, they are expected to have a press conference at 1:30 where we'll get a better idea of what led to all of this. And then soon after that, there will be a procession, and we will follow that as well. So we're going to bring you the latest information as soon as we have it. But for now, reporting live at Frederick Hospital, Lauren Winfrey, today's TMJ4.
All right, Lauren, thanks so much for bringing us up to date on what's happening there at Frederick. This is a tough picture to look at, isn't it? It's very emotional. You can see law enforcement there, Milwaukee Police Department members. They're gathered with their heads bowed and together in their brotherhood as they deal with the information about the loss of a fellow officer on this Wednesday morning. And you heard Lauren mention about the other 2 officers. And you probably remember when this happened. It was last summer. It was Officer Michael Michalski and Officer Charles Irvine Jr. Charles Irvine Jr. was killed on June 7th. Last summer, and then about 6 or 7 weeks later, Officer Michael Michalski also died in the line of duty, and that happened on July 25th. Michalski was a 17-year veteran of the police department, and this is Charles Irvine Jr.
Hey, you were mentioning the police chase. Irvine was just 23 years old. This is now video. There's Officer Mike Michalski. He was killed 7 weeks later, July 25th. Officer Michalski killed in a shootout with a wanted suspect. Officer Michalski, a 17-year veteran with MPD, and actually came from a very well-connected and active law enforcement family, did Officer Michalski. A lot of people very close to him were on the job, as they say.
Right, and then 8 months later, here we are, as we understand, according to multiple sources, that the Milwaukee police officer who was shot earlier this morning on the south side has died. We are standing by for a news conference with Milwaukee police as they detail what happened and whatever information they are sharing this morning about the situation with their officer. Obviously a very emotional time for the law enforcement community as a whole.
And for that South Side neighborhood in particular, we talked with Alderman Tony Zielinski, in whose district this occurred, and Alderman Bob Donovan, South Side Alderman as well. Both of them have been active in grassroots community efforts to be involved with law enforcement officers. You know, we talked a lot in our community over the last several years about residents need to connect with their police department. We talk so much about a gap between Milwaukee police and the people whom they serve, and desires stated on both sides to bridge that gap. This is a part of our community where that was happening, the South Side, and it had been happening for years. And so you have people who live in these neighborhoods who probably do, in many cases, have a close relationship with the officers who patrol their neighborhoods. Maybe they've been involved in some of these community efforts, like Operation Impact, raising money for the police department to help them buy security cameras or other protections to make those neighborhoods safer. So this is particularly concerning for those residents in that neighborhood who are doing their part, who are reaching out, who are trying to make things safer on their streets, and they've made that effort and have made a better relationship with MPD.
Yeah, and Alderman Tony Zielinski, who does represent this neighborhood itself, talked about how Once he gets the facts, he'll be reaching out to the community to try to make sure that their fears are allayed, and that how that community alderperson communication is so important to making sure that they don't feel defeated as they try to make progress in that and try to make sure that their community is a safe place to live in.
I want to continue to bring you some of the condolences that are coming in from so many law enforcement agencies really across the state of Wisconsin, like that Oak Creek Fire Department. We've heard from West Allis Police Department. Muskego PD is also checking in. Greenfield Police with some of the earliest thoughts and prayers going out to MPD earlier this morning. And we're seeing the Milwaukee Police Department badge with the black band around it.
And then you see Brown Deer Police there. Our thoughts and prayers are with all of the members of the Milwaukee Police family on this tragic day. Let's go out to our Pete Zervakis, who is at Froedtert Hospital now, where we will hear from Milwaukee Police in a news conference at 1:30. Pete?
That's correct, Susan. It was a news conference that was originally scheduled for 12 o'clock. Now we hope it's going to happen in about an hour here at Froedtert. It's going to be in that large building that you're looking at, the Froedtert Cancer Center, with all the windows and the glass around it. It's going to be in the lobby of that building. In the meantime, as we await this press conference, which will be MPD's first on-the-record kind of comments beyond just Twitter since this shooting occurred, we have seen more and more Milwaukee Police squad cars arriving here at Froedtert, parking on the scene. You can see them parked on Doyne Avenue there. A couple other jurisdictions as well. You see some different squads, but it's mostly MPD, and it seems like especially within the last hour and a half, there's really been a lot of those squads showing up here, perhaps coming from the scene on the south side where some of our other reporters are. Now we can take you back to very earlier in the day when we first went on air, about 10:30 or so. It was when Froedtert confirmed to us that the officer had been shot on the south side, had been brought here. They confirmed to us it was with a gunshot wound. They did not elaborate on his condition. Then, of course, with some of our reporters on the south side and with Vince Susan working their sources, we did hear from Alderman Donovan as well as from other sources that officer had passed away. We expect that's going to be what's announced at that 1:30 news conference here at Froedtert. And, of course, we've been touching on this within the last hour or so, but this isn't the first time we've seen something like this. There were 2 MPD officers killed on the job within the last year, and both times we saw a similar scene of squad cars arriving here outside of the hospital, escorting the fallen officer's body to the ME's office in downtown Milwaukee. Of course, the scene you're looking at live right here at Froedtert with those squad cars lined up on Doyne Avenue and more officers arriving on the scene. Very reminiscent of what we saw over the summer when officers Charles Irvine Jr. and then later Michael Maholsky were killed on the job. Susan and Vince.
And Pete, you know, with the law enforcement community, they just reach out to each other and support each other in this time of tragedy. Have you seen other law enforcement squad cars also arriving on scene to be there for the officer and the Milwaukee Police Department?
There have been a couple, Susan, and I can almost guarantee that you'll see a lot more outside the ME's office when we do eventually, as we expect, have that procession occur maybe later today. At the ME's office, I'm sure there will be a lot. I've seen a couple other squad cars here. We're pretty far back. We're at 87th in Wisconsin. This is where the hospital told us we could stand where we wouldn't get in the way, so haven't been able to necessarily read from where they all are, but there's a few. But it is a heavy Milwaukee police presence, and because you mentioned the support from other law enforcement agencies, I can tell you a dear friend of mine is the chaplain for MPD, and he told me when those 2 previous officer deaths occurred over the summer, they got baskets from law enforcement agencies around the country. New York PD, places like that were sending gifts and condolences to MPD, and even some professional sports teams. I hope I'm remembering this correct, but I seem to remember the New York Yankees even sending something to MPD after Officer Michael Maholsky was killed. So really show of support that maybe for those of us on the outside don't understand the meaning to it. But at the time when all of that was going on, the chaplain told us that, you know, that really helps build the morale of these officers when they have to go through something like this.
All right, Pete. And now I am seeing a new message from the Milwaukee Police Department Twitter page that outlines the timeline for what is going to be happening this afternoon. Timeline for media staging is the 1:30 news conference, and then approximately at 2:15 there will be a departure from the hospital to the ME's office downtown. And the route out of the hospital will be west on Doyne, north on 92nd, west on Watertown Plank, and then onto 4145 south as it makes its way downtown to the medical examiner's office.
And that's where this picture comes to us from right now. Right there is the Milwaukee County Courthouse. You can see that on the right-hand side of your screen. We're looking west. I'm sorry, we're looking south, I believe down 9th Street there, about 9th and Highland, where close to where the Milwaukee County Medical Examiner's office is. We're seeing that Milwaukee Fire Department raising the flag over the street, and that procession will make its way underneath there at some point later today. Sadly, we've seen this before. So that's coming to us from downtown right now, that picture just into our newsroom as we get set for the, do you want to give us that route again? So again, we have this news conference that's going to happen at 1:30 at Frederick Hospital. Then we have the fallen officer's body will be taken to the medical examiner's office, and we expect that to be escorted by a large contingent of police squads. And so, again, important to listen, not only because you care about the officer here, but there is going to be a traffic disruption this afternoon as well. And Susan, you have that route information?
According to Milwaukee Police on their Twitter page, they're saying that the 1:30 news conference, which we have been telling you about, is scheduled to occur at 1:30, and then approximately at 2:15, a departure from the hospital to the ME's office downtown. This is a live picture of where the news conference will be held. So the route out of the hospital will be west on Doyne, north on 92nd, west on Watertown Plank, and then on to 4145 south before making their way to downtown Milwaukee. And we do want to share that Milwaukee Police Department has shared that route publicly, but also so many times members of the public also want to show their love and support for the Milwaukee police officer in tragic times like today. So there may be members of the public, or you are watching right now, that may want to be out there and show your respects and show your support for the Milwaukee Police Department.
We have our reporter Adriana Mendez still coming to us from the neighborhood this morning. She's been talking to neighbors who are shocked and upset over the news of what's gone down in their South Side neighborhood. Adriana?
Yeah, residents have told me they, as you mentioned, Vince, are shocked, upset, saddened that this has happened in their neighborhood. They're devastated that another Milwaukee police officer was killed in the line of duty. Now, we are standing near 13th and Manitoba Street, and there is a police officer blocking off this area. Multiple streets are blocked off in this area, so if you can avoid this area, please do so as Milwaukee Police and other agencies continue their investigation. But as I mentioned, there is a police officer here that's kind of directing traffic, blocking off traffic, and I've even seen residents come up to that officer to offer her their condolences and their support during this difficult time. So the community is really trying to rally around these officers at the moment. I spoke to a gentleman earlier today. His name was Anthony. He had mentioned how his uncle was a police officer, so he really feels for what these officers are going through at the moment. So once again, the community is just devastated here in this area. And they expressed to me that they want to extend their support to Milwaukee Police as they're just going through this very difficult time. Susan, Vince?
All right, Adriana Mendez reporting live for us from the neighborhood, sharing just the emotional impact what has happened today is having on the people who live there.
Today's TMJ4 and breaking news coverage of a Milwaukee police officer shot and killed on the south side about 9:30 this morning. The officer taken to Frederick Hospital, but that officer did not survive the shooting. Neighbors in the area told us they heard multiple gunshots ring out this morning. That prompted this huge police response. We're told from multiple sources the officer was there executing some sort of search warrant. Beyond that, we don't know much about the officer other than he's, we were told, in his late 20s or early 30s. And was, again, there executing some sort of warrant on an early morning police action.
And our Sean Gallagher is also in the neighborhood for us this morning. And Sean, you actually may have seen the immediate response to the shooting of that police officer while you were out on another story earlier this morning.
Yeah, that's right, Susan. We were at a scene from early this morning of a rollover crash into a building near 26th and National. Actually finished up that story, headed back to the station around 9:30. I actually checked the timestamp on the video I took. It's 9:38 a.m. and an escort just zipped right by us. There was an MPD SUV and another patrol car, and in the middle of those two, an MFD paramedic unit. That ambulance being escorted, what we're assuming, in the direction of Fredert, and they were going at an extremely high rate of speed. Definitely some urgency in something that I've never seen before like that. I've only seen escorts like that, really, quite honestly, for the president. This is the first time I've seen an ambulance escorted in that fashion. The car in the front would go up, block off an intersection so that the ambulance could safely get through at its own high rate of speed as they took it to what we are assuming is Fredert, a level 1 trauma center like Vince had mentioned. But again, a very urgent case that we saw this morning around 9:30 this morning near the Mitchell Park Domes.
Sean, we are actually watching the video that you shot here. What are we looking at right now? It looks as if it's the MFD ambulance there in the distance.
Yeah, so that video, they got past us. I tried to start recording as soon as possible, and yeah, as we were crossing that one bridge just past the Mitchell Park Domes, there was a patrol car behind the MFD ambulance, and then there was a Milwaukee Police SUV in front of that ambulance. I stopped recording because we were just too far away. They just zipped right by us, but I saw at the next intersection that SUV had kind of blocked traffic with its lights to make sure no one was going to go through, and then the ambulance followed suit and just continued on its way.
That's our Sean Gallagher reporting live on scene. Sean, appreciate that update and that video with the perspective there. Yeah, that's not something you typically see, and at least that part is good. But the officer, as we said, presumably on his way to Fredert, to where he ultimately did not survive this morning's shooting.
Our Lauren Winfrey is at Fredert Hospital right now, awaiting the news conference. We're still looking at 1:30, Lauren?
Still looking at 1:30, Susan, and we noticed that a number of squad cars continue to arrive, and police officers are continuing to gather here. We know that Mayor Barrett, he is in the building, but again, that news conference is scheduled for 1:30, and for the third time in just under 10 months, the Milwaukee Police Department is mourning another death. So it's just you just want to send your condolences to them. You feel for them, their department, the city as a whole. It's just a really, really tough time to imagine what they might be going through. After the press conference that is scheduled for 1:30, there is a procession that will follow, and that will go from Fredert to the ME's office, and we will bring you that press conference as soon as it gets underway. But for now, reporting live at Fredert Hospital, Lauren Winfrey, today's TMJ4.
All right, Lauren, thanks very much. And right now you are seeing some of the condolences that are coming in through social media, and they are from departments throughout Wisconsin, and they are going by fairly quickly, but you get the feel of what is happening here, and that black band across the Milwaukee Police Department badge. One of the condolences that have been coming in, the Village of East Troy Police Department joins the Milwaukee Police Department in mourning the loss of one of their officers in the line of duty this morning.
Looking at the departments: Racine Police, Shorewood Police, Sheboygan County Sheriff, Mount Pleasant Police, Lake County, Illinois, the Sheriff's Office there checking in, offering support to its neighboring state.
It reads, another tragic day for law enforcement. Our hearts go out to the men and women of the Milwaukee Police Department, and really that message resonating from law enforcement agencies throughout Wisconsin and in the Midwest.
Back live out at that scene near 12th and Dakota, just north of Oklahoma this morning. We're at 9:30 a.m. An officer with the Milwaukee Police Department was shot and later pronounced dead. An officer was taken to Fredert Hospital, where we expect a news conference to happen about a half hour from now. So we'll update you on what our plans are to bring you this important coverage from that news conference. We are going to wrap things up here in a minute or two, and we will take a break.
And let's go to Pete right now. He's out at Fredert. Pete?
Well, Susan and Vince, we are standing live outside Frederick Hospital. We're in the same spot where we have been all morning, 87th in Wisconsin. And throughout the morning, as the time has gone on, we've seen more and more Milwaukee police squad cars arrive and line up outside the Cancer Center where that news conference at 1:30 is expected to begin. We did get word from MPD that after that news conference around 2:15, you're going to see all the squad cars lined up here, escort that fallen officer's body from Frederick to the ME's office. We expect them to go west on Doyne Avenue, which is this street where they're lined up. They're then going to take 92nd up to Watertown Plank and get on the interstate that way. Very somber times here outside Frederick as we all wait to hear what MPD says at this 1:30 media briefing. Vincent, Susan.
All right, Pete Zerbach is live for us out at Frederick Hospital. Now we want to go and hear from the neighbors on the south side.
You don't hear gunshots. You don't hear none of that. Like, if you hear a gunshot, everyone is surprised, you know? Like, I don't know, the neighborhood with the neighbors, like if you hear arguments or something like that, no one even calls the police because everyone knows each other and everyone knows that something horrible is not going to happen. But with this right here, this is like everyone right now is probably just outraged.
One resident is there in that neighborhood near 12th and Dakota just sharing how tight-knit that community is and then how upset they are now that in light of what has happened today.
So now we'll update you on what our plan is here. Again, we have that news conference that's expected about 1:30. So close to the top of the hour here, we are going to break away from our continuing coverage of the officer who was shot. We will then, as soon as we see folks gathering at the podium, continue that coverage and bring you the news conference live, where we expect to hear from officials, and the first time really publicly, with the exception of some posts on Twitter from the Milwaukee Police Department this morning.
And we just got an email from the Milwaukee County Medical Examiner's Office stating that it has been notified of the death of a Milwaukee police officer. Subject was pronounced dead at Frederick Hospital, and an autopsy is scheduled for tomorrow. No further information to be released. That information, again, coming to us from the Milwaukee County Medical Examiner's Office.
And that will prompt what we expect to be a large procession from Frederick Hospital to the ME's office this afternoon. I believe that's going to start immediately following the news conference. The news conference at 1:30, and that procession with the fallen officer's body making its way to the ME's office at about 2:15 this afternoon.
Now we will be bringing you continued live coverage of our breaking news story. We are going to take just a short break right now. Again, that news conference is scheduled to occur at 1:30 this afternoon. We will bring it to you live as we wrap up this portion of our breaking news here from today's TMJ4.
And you can continue to follow that coverage online at tmj4.com, on our Facebook page, and on your mobile app.